everybody? Welcome to Nintendo Pow Block here on Bosch Rush Network. I'm your host, the enlightened, excited Eddie V. Joining me is the one, the only, and in the new building, Mr. Corey Dirrig, Bossman himself. Hello, good sir.
Hey, Ed. It is, I have a lot to say tonight for some reason. And it's not about moving. It's not about any of the stuff that's been going on. It's my brain has been so just, I don't know, man. It's been a trip this week. Let me tell you, between moving and work stuff and figuring out what the best setup is here and everything. It's been crazy. So, but yes, I'm in the new studio. Yes, my lights are on for the most part. It's still a work in progress. If I sound echoey, it's because my soundproofing is not up yet. It's actually sitting on the side table right here that you cannot see. I got blue this time, blue and charcoal. So,
ooh, that's a nice combination.
Yeah, I think this bookcase behind me right here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a strip of wall right here, right next to the door. I think I'm gonna line it there. And then there's like a vent right above, not like right above me, but like on the wall behind me. That's why that whole top part is blank, is because that's a vent that's painted gray. And so I might put patches up there. And I definitely have to put a few squares in front of me. So if I sound echoey, I apologize. We're still working on all the stuff, but there's still one more shelf unit that needs mounted in front of me. And but other than that, and the soundproofing, everything is good to go. I set up some stuff for recording Let's Plays / maybe streaming, since I have some sort of Windows device now that may or may not be easy to do that from. So we'll see. But I'm excited for some things coming up, and yeah, it's been it's crazy because I have posters up too that I haven't had hung up in such a long time. Like I have my Wind Waker HD poster hanging up over here.
Yeah,
which I've only ever had hung up one time, and I have my Link Between Worlds poster over here, which I've never had hung up ever. I have my Nintendo Power 1988 to 2012 every cover of the magazine picture hanging over here. And obviously my Destiny poster is back there, but like all my figures are on display. All my collector's edition books and art books and stuff are down here. All my strategy guides are like back in this little unit right here. Oh, I'm so happy. I'm not like, stuck in this corner and having to like really watch what I say and how loud I say it because everybody's sleeping. I'm a whole floor below everybody. All the bedrooms are on that side of the room. Like this vent only goes to our bathroom, which people can only hear me if they're in the bathroom. And like I close that vent, so hopefully that, ameliorates it. But yeah, man, it's been, I don't know, I'm excited. I'm glad it's almost done.
it's just the unpacking and
most of our stuff's unpacked. It's mostly cleaning the other apartment now.
Oh, okay.
Because especially the office, because all that sticky tack that I used to hang the soundproofing, when I didn't know what I was doing, is all over the wall. And I used a lot more than I thought I did, so a little concerned there, but it'll be fine.
Yes,
it'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah, I was getting the picture text from you Saturday, and I'm just like, yes. I'm like, ooh, this is nice. Like Saturday, I literally just not so much shut down, but really with just like the less interaction that I have on Twitter or on my phone, definitely not going to work. It's just like really blocking the outside world and just having a moment for me felt really good. Like I ordered Chick-fil-A
Mm.
for curbside pickup, which is weird. So I was able to I placed the order and I got to the Chick-fil-A that I ordered from. And I told them, I hit the button saying where I was at. And that's when they started to cook the food. I'm like, wait a minute. I thought you guys would be cooking my food while I'm on there. Because they were just like, oh, your food will be ready 4 to 7 minutes. I'm like, so I got to make a 20-minute drive to y'all, park, and then y'all start cooking? I was just like, oh, okay. But
I don't know, man. It's wild out there.
so weird. I think next time I'm gonna get the grilled chicken nuggets. Because that feels that feels new to me.
Mm.
And everything. It didn't hit me. I'd be like, man, I could get a gyro. Or I should have got one like yesterday, but I was just like, nah, that's why the Chick-fil-A was good.
But you didn't.
Yes.
So you failed.
I did enjoy the cookie and cream milkshake. So I kind of treated myself for that and everything. Yeah, my bill came out to like $70 some. I'm like, dang, Chick-fil-A is no joke.
I mean, yeah, Chick-fil-A is definitely we'll say on the expensive side.
Yes.
But still delicious. I haven't had Chick-fil-A in so long though, man. It's been so long since I had Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. But I'm just like, I spend this much like at Chipotle and Chili's and all these other places. So I'm used to it now. Like, I don't, yeah, it is what it is.
The sad thing too is like when the economy finally improves, the prices are still not going to come down.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
it's cool though.
Yeah,
Whatever.
it
Just
is.
I don't know. I'm just gonna keep trucking along, I suppose, and hope for the best.
Yes. Yeah. I did post on my Twitter that parts one of my PAX East preparation is complete. So
What's part one?
so part one was getting the shirts. So I got 4 shirts that you text me about. I didn't even know that you knew or anything.
Well, yeah. Who do you think runs the store?
Yeah, but I thought because you were moving and everything, that you wouldn't. And I think because I definitely did say on our Discord, hey, shirts ordered and everything like that. So I thought you would be moving, you wouldn't be like on Discord or know anything, or like get an alert or
Well,
something.
I got the email alert because I run the store through a separate email account from other
Okay.
things.
Uh-huh.
For security purposes, if
Versus,
nothing else.
were you able to see what I got?
Yeah, that's why
Oh,
I
okay.
texted you.
Yeah.
Uh, because I got an email alert, and like I like to check because I like to kind of expect what what we're
Hmm.
getting and like
Yeah.
the type of income we're getting from the store and from Patreon and whatever else source of income we get sometimes. And I looked, I was like, okay, well, if somebody bought a shirt, we're gonna get like $2 and we'll just add it to the thing because our profit margins running through Two Public is like nothing. And so I got one alert, and I think Mary got a couple things.
Yeah, she did.
And I was like, okay, there's the alert. But then I scrolled up and I was like, oh, I got another one. And I looked at it and it's like 4 or 5 things. I'm like, geez. And that's why I texted you because I looked at the item list. And I'm like, oh, this has to be Ed. So
Yeah, because it was just like I definitely had to have my Pow Block stuff and then my Bossworth stuff. I
Yeah.
needed to have. Um, but I was looking for the hoodies and I couldn't find it. I
Well,
wonder.
you have to click the way T Public works is weird, and I haven't spent enough time to look
Mhm.
a lot on there. Um, but when you go, you click on like the logo. It does so since I'm logged in as like the store owner. So when you log in and you go to the Boss Rush page, does it have like all the logos just kind of listed out?
It has all the logos, but everything it just says T-shirts.
Oh, well, click if you click on the logo of whatever you're buying,
Mhm.
and then like it'll automatically pop up as a t-shirt.
Yeah, and then I hit the
But
list and I was trying
at
to check to see if I could
when
find a
you
hoodie.
when you go to the bottom, it has more items from like more Pow Block podcast NP 2024 logo yellow flat. It'll have more products, and there'll be the hoodie and the stickers and the mugs and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know why it automatically goes to t-shirt, and there's probably someone way smarter than me to figure out why, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but also like on the side, there's like, oh, hoodies, and then you click on hoodies, and all the hoodies will pop up, or on this, long sleeve t-shirts, and you can click on that, and all that will pop
Yeah.
up.
Because definitely the hoodie is for uh definitely like traveling for me. So like when I uh because when I go there, I'm gonna probably just have one of my old hoodies
Hmm.
when I get there on Wednesday, and then when we start going to PAX, one of the hoodies gonna be in my messenger bag, just like in case if it rains or it's cold and stuff, and I can just throw it off.
Hmm.
So I definitely gotta order one. I know I gotta go to the Adidas store and get my shoes. I'm not gonna wear those until Wednesday.
Hmm.
When I leave for I think me and you are probably leaving at the same time when Sunday. But we'll talk about that off air
Yeah.
and everything.
Yeah,
Uh
we'll probably ride back together and whatever. There'll probably be some sort of, I don't know, we'll figure it out, because I know a bunch of us I think are getting there around the same time too. Uh so I think Pat and me and probably David, since he's coming from out west, will get there around the same time. And I would assume, what time's your flight?
for getting there or
Yeah,
leaving.
for getting there.
For getting there, my flight is at 9:45 in the morning. So
Oh,
when I
you're gonna be there way earlier than that.
right,
Do you have
way
a
early.
layover anywhere?
No, mine is a straight flight.
Yeah, so is mine. Okay. Yeah, you'll be there way earlier than I'm not gonna even land until like a quarter till 10 at night.
Yeah, I'm landing there like at 1:45. So it's
Mhm.
going to be a jump, dude. Because everything else that had a layover that may seem somewhat cheaper, they were
Mhm.
taking me to Florida.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just like,
Yeah.
huh?
There
No.
was there was one, I was like Cleveland to Boston, right? You would like, you know, it's going this way. Okay, so you would
Yeah.
think if there was a layover, it'd be maybe like maybe Pittsburgh, you know, the off chance maybe New York or whatever.
Right.
No, Austin, Texas. I'm like, what are you doing? Why would I go to Austin, Texas to go to Boston? That makes no sense.
Since right.
Ugh.
So I was able to get one. Uh, both of my flights don't have no layovers.
Yeah,
So, uh,
yeah.
so, but
It's man, this is it's only 2 weeks away. I mean,
it
it's
is.
17 days away, which I didn't even realize until I was like, we were sitting on the couch today eating lunch with the kids before we went outside to play. I was like, hey, I was talking to someone like, hey, I know we've been moving and stuff, but PAX is 2.5 weeks away. We should probably talk about like what the money situation is going to be like by then, and you know what I should and should not spend. She's like, you can buy food. I'm like, okay. So
I'm just gonna say if we both see something and it becomes a blessing that you get something from me, take it as a
nope,
blessing, and I'm
nope,
gonna leave it at that. Don't know me.
nope. I'm not carrying that crap on the airplane.
I'm not true. I'm talking about clothes or something.
Oh, I'm not buying clothes. Not from there. No,
Oh yeah,
like
it's gonna be expensive for a lot of
well,
stuff.
it's not just that. The quality of the shirts and stuff is always just like so
Trashy
yeah.
or
Yes.
questionable content.
No, you can say trashy.
Oh,
It's yeah. So
so
we'll see when it all happens, but I'm excited.
yeah, because I also gotta go to Amazon and order my mic and stuff.
Yeah,
Which
I gotta figure that out because like I can't find my lapel mics, all the lapel mics I had at one point, and I
uh
cannot find them, and it's kind of concerning me. So, but also I'm gonna see if I can take the go bag from work because our go bag is like our small travel emergency kit. There's no events that week.
yeah,
All the equipment is in there that we would need. My camera is charging in the corner over there, and I'm gonna test it out to make sure it's good to go. We should be good to go in terms of podcasts and content recording.
yeah, because I know Wednesday. I think we need to test, kind of test stuff,
Yeah,
or
well that
like kind of find an area and stuff like that.
yeah, I mean that night, hopefully everybody will be, or at least some people will be up for it. But I'm gonna do like a every night some sort of podcast. I don't know if it's going to be like officially like Boss Rush Podcast or Pow
Hmm.
Block or whatever, or maybe they'll just be the podcasts for both feeds because it'll just be an amalgamation of people.
Right.
Um, and I would like to do like night 0, night 1, night 2, night 3, and then maybe Sunday morning before we all leave, a group of us sits and just kind of talks about our experience because I don't know if I'm even going to go on Sunday. If I do, it'll only be for a couple hours,
Well,
like
that's gonna be the thing with me is that I am gonna go Sunday for a couple of hours and stuff because I think I'm leaving at 3. Because my flight isn't too, like I said, we'll talk about that online.
yeah, my
But I
my
think
flight's my flight's at like 5 something.
mine's around the same time as yours as
Hmm.
5. Because I think I'll get home like around 7:45 or 8 or something. But
Hmm.
like I said, we'll talk about that later. Which brings us everybody to some good old housekeeping. Uh,
Nice.
PAX East 2024, Nintendo Pow Block and the Boss Rush Network are headed to PAX East. You'll be able to find us roaming the show floor. So if you're there, come say hi. We will be covering the event as part of the media, demoing games, conducting interviews, and recording a podcast or two live from the event. So make sure to keep your eye on bossrush.net and our YouTube channel for that. PAX East is taking place in Boston, March 21st to the 24th. So get your badges now. Come say hi. Everybody, we also have our Patreon. You can check our website and our YouTube. If you want to support Nintendo Pow Block and the Boss Rush Network, you can head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/Boss Rush Network, where you can get our supplemental show Expansion Pass 2 weeks early and ad-free and other perks like early access to other podcasts, voting rights, and more at the tier that's right for you. Again, that's patreon.com/Boss Rush Network.
Man,
I'm
so
excited, dude.
I know I'm getting there. It's been for me, it's like really hard to get excited for things when it's like super busy and
Mhm.
there's a lot going on. Obviously, like between moving and for work, we just had one of the biggest event we've had in years,
Mhm.
essentially. Between like that, I mean you think the game industry is bad, the tech industry is almost as bad and worse in some cases. So, you know, we had a massive AI event for work, and so that took a lot of time and brain consumption, moving, trying to get some games done for video game book club and stuff like that. So it's been a busy, 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 busy. It's been busy.
Yes. Well, everybody, we're going to quickly get into Snacktendo because I do talking about Friday before I hit like even my like off day on Saturday. I literally just like let me get 2 pieces of pieces, the small personal pan ones, and get 2 Mountain Dews and eat that. I'm just like I've been eating sushi for the like last week and a half, sushi and ramen because of the place that I've been going to for work. It's just I just go to and I mean I had some McDonald's and uh Dunkin' Donuts, which I really want to see how their donuts are in Boston. I can't wait to try the snack stuff.
Well,
In
there's the
places.
Dunkin' Donuts on every other street corner. So, yeah, you'll. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Shoot. Oh, well.
Yes. So, um, I
Sorry,
mean,
I'm prepping some social media stuff for this week and for Boss Rush, and I accidentally shared something that's not going out till tomorrow, but it's fine.
ah, uh,
It was on a network that nobody really uses anyway, so it's fine.
oh, so yeah, I tried the Coca-Cola Spice. It's a new drink. It's supposed to be a raspberry flavor of Coca-Cola, but it ended up tasting like some say blueberry. It has a weird taste. I only did once. I think I it wasn't cold enough yet. So I gotta try to get it cold once again. But I still I'm just like Coca-Cola when you're trying new stuff. It just really feels weird and to me, it's still not beating the cherry coke. I just man, I forgot my thing everybody is with cherry coke, I love to have it when I have Subway. Or when I try to get a lot of subs besides like grocery store subs, I try to do cherry coke. Even like at Jimmy John's, I would do cherry coke. Because I feel like cherry coke and subs just go together for me. Like it just feel they just taste so good to me. But yeah, that's pretty much I'm trying to find different snacks. So that's gonna be happening kind of when I get back to work in on another day this week. Um, I'm going to try to hit like their mall and stuff. And see if they got any new snacks, Japanese snacks, and try it. So, uh,
Nice.
but yeah, I because I've been gone for so long from my area of work and everything, my body is gonna get tired of sushi and everything else. Be like, you know what? Let's all hold off the sushi and let's try to find something different and everything. I think Taco Bell had a new kind of like some kind of grilled cheese steak taco or something.
Sounds riveting.
So I was just like, oh, I'll try it. Yeah, Taco Bell. I normally when I go to Taco Bell, I normally get their boxes and stuff, but I try to look for anything they got new. So it's the cheesy chicken crispinata. Um, it was okay. It's not really anything to uh yell home about and stuff. Um, that's yeah, and I I tried some pineapple gummies and some mango gummies that we sell at my job. People didn't like the mango gummies, but I did. I enjoyed them. we had a person from Chicago drive to our store, like called us and said they was on their way to our store and bought about 10 bags. Like we had a lot of it. And I think they're becoming so popular and people love, and I guess people are loving them, that if they find them, they're stacking up on them. And that's good profit for us. Cause it's our candy and everything. Um, so yeah, I'm probably gonna just end it there. I did have a home run pizza. I really need to go to a home run and restaurant and just try when they make it. Because the microwave seems different, and I never cook one in the oven. Mostly, I do the Journals or Jack's. Now, Jack's pizzas and Tombstones. I do love Tombstones. Um, Jack's Pizza Tombstones be hidden when you get it just right. Yes, I know I need to do the Aldi pizza too, which is great also. But I think I need to try some new pizzas and just cook them in the oven and stuff.
Mm.
So, um, pretty much that's all I have been snacking on. What about you, Corey? What have you been snacking on?
Well, this week, this weekend, really, I lived off of pizza rolls and pizza again.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we moved all of our big furniture and stuff Saturday, so we ended up just ordering pizza and bringing it in. We got Dewey's, which is like the nice pizza place around here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we had that. The barbecue chicken pizza is my favorite pizza from there.
Ooh, that sounds so
Um,
good.
we also got a pepperoni pizza from there, and I'm just like so Dewey's is excellent at specialty pizzas,
Mm-hmm.
like the Santa Fe barbecue chicken, which is what we usually get, and it's really good. Or like, some of these other specialty pizzas, but man, we got the pepperoni pizza. It's just like a regular pepperoni pizza because the kids won't eat anything else. um, Along with the barbecue chicken, and I had a couple pieces, and it's just like was not was not sitting right with me, man. It just wasn't very good, and it was the first time that we got um pizza from there, and it just was not like I. That was the first time I ever thought, man, I kind of regret this decision. Uh, so that was interesting. But other than that, I mean, it's just been kind of like snacking here, snacking there.
Yeah.
Just trying to fuel up microwavable breakfast sandwiches. And this weekend was, or this maybe since like Thursday has not been a great week for my diet or whatever. Which whatever, I'll get back on it tomorrow, Monday, as of this recording. But
Plus,
other than
plus
that,
you're moving, so it's like it's very understandable. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. I mean, I don't really want to make excuses because it's you know, but also at the same time, like I'm making an excuse. So just yep, I made an
Yeah.
excuse. But dude, I can't tell you how excited I am that this is all done. Uh,
Yes.
so
Which I kind of had to ask you a question, Corey, and we're gonna get into film news. I mean, not film news. But playing with power. Um, we're trying new pizzas like at different places that you've never been to. Uh, what is your topping? Your go-to topping? Because
oh, the standard for me everywhere. And granted, I'm not very experimental, right?
mm-hmm.
If their pepperoni pizza is good and their cheese pepperoni or their cheese pizza is good, then you can explore other options. If they can't even handle the basic everybody pizza, then it's not worth trying anything else.
Because I know to go sausage, with theirs, and then pepperoni would be second for me, um, for it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
I would.
I don't
Oh, go
really
ahead.
like sausage on my pizza, to be honest with you. I Yeah,
It's
I just can't. I don't know what it is. I just can't.
I think
Um,
it's I think it's my with pepperoni. I think sometimes my worry is that is it going to be too crispy, too crunchy, or is it going to be like I bite into it and it's dragging like the whole pizza and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should. I don't know if I should change it and stuff. I think because sausage is kind of like buried in the cheese and sauce and everything, it doesn't feel like it's gonna ruin the pizza. So I could get a nice idea of the breading, the sauce that they use, the cheese and everything. Um, if it's like if it's like it's the dough homemade and stuff, like get an idea and then explore with the pepperoni to see how greasy it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't do the whole sausage on pizza thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like even when I do like if I'm gonna get another meat besides pepperoni, it's gonna be bacon. Uh
Mm.
so that's kind of where I sit on that.
Yeah, I would do. I don't really do bacon. I would do sausage, pepperoni. But my third option is always chicken. And I know like I do ham, but I normally do ham when it's a supreme. That's the only time I do ham.
Okay. Okay.
So
Oops.
uh
I mean, even if I get bacon, it's usually not with pepperoni though. It's usually with like jalapenos or something.
uh
Because that's just what I prefer, you know.
yeah, my case my piece can be too spicy because I'll be like, I'm going to cry.
Yeah, but I mean, jalapenos aren't that spicy in my opinion. Uh, they're just like they're like baby's first spice, I guess, if you
Hmm.
want to call it that. It's just like this. It's like people who want to get really into like wing sauces for the first time, but like
Yeah,
they only have Tabasco sauce, and it's like, oh, this will do for now, you know.
yeah. I know with jalapenos, like I said, it's the Cheetos cheddar jalapenos. Like I think cheddar jalapenos works for me. Um, Nachos is weird because I could do the jalapeno like the water, like the liquid, or
Hmm.
like and stuff, but I can't have that actual jalapeno in it. And I think it's just I won't say it's my tongue that is too sensitive, but I think I like sweeter and cooler and milder kind of heat. But I'm like, if I gotta go hot, hot, then yeah, I will go hot, hot. Um, if need be, definitely with catfish and spaghetti. Like definitely with my catfish, I gotta have some spice to it. Like I gotta have a kick to it.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Well, you know, it is what it is.
yes. Well, everybody, it's time for Play with Power. Corey, have you been playing anything with Power?
Yeah, so I've actually been playing a lot on Switch, and b- I don't know if I
Same
want to get
here.
into this. I don't know if I want to get into this now or if I want to wait for a minute. Uh, Maybe I'll just go through what I'm playing and then kind of get into it after, like right before Family News. Like you can talk about what you've been playing because I
Mhm.
want to have I want to have a discussion, Ed, about something that I have been, and this is just my brain and me being dumb, I think, but I'm in a game playing conundrum here. Uh,
Mm,
but overall, Ed, I have been playing a little bit of a lot, I would say, instead of a lot of a little bit.
yes.
Um, Mostly because I'm moving and I have certain obligations to other projects we're doing here. But I've been playing Final Fantasy VII. I don't remember if I talked about it last week or not, but I think I did
You did.
somewhere.
Yeah, you did, and then I think you just said you was because you was making a plan on how do you want to go through the games and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm playing the original Final Fantasy VII. Um, the hype of Rebirth got to me, and everything I'm seeing is just like, I really want to play it. Um, so I've been playing through that. I'm about, I would say, 3.5 hours in. I'm not very far. My gameplay timer says 3.5 hours. If I was doing it if I was just playing to play, like I'm trying to explore and go through and talk to everybody and trying to grind a little bit
Yeah.
early on so I don't get stuck trying to do it later. So I'm probably really only about, well, people who are playing. I'm with Aerith, and I have just gotten to her house, I think is what I'm assuming it is. There's a save point right outside this house in this
Yeah.
lush field slash waterfall slash
Yeah.
forest type area.
Yeah, that's her
So
house.
yeah, so that's where I'm at. And I'm enjoying it. I think I'm enjoying it a little bit more than I maybe would have if I played it when it came out or
Mhm.
shortly after. Just because, like, when you go through when if you're into gaming as much as we are, even the games that you haven't played or haven't played much of, the characters for the most part, or some of the story beats and stuff like that, right? And Final Fantasy VII is definitely one of those where if I've never played it, but I know who Tifa and Yuffie and Barrett and Sephiroth and Cloud and Zack are, and Aerith, right? Like I know who all these characters are, just from playing, just from being in this space. Uh, so it's they are iconic characters, and so I feel like I kind of know them a little bit already, and that's kind of helped me kind of get through the opening parts of the game.
Mhm.
Uh, and it's like seeing their story like in detail now that I kind of know what's happening, uh, is kind of neat. It's definitely a game of its time, we'll say. Very, very RPG, read heavy, that type of thing. So, also, I was talking to LeBron the other day on the Boss Rush podcast about this, but man, Barrett, the writing for Barrett, seems like a bunch of 40-year-old white dudes translating Japanese for a black man. Uh, that's all I'm gonna say. Very hmm, stereotypical uh type dialogue, we'll say, of 90s black people.
Mhm.
And so that kind of threw me off, especially like when you read it and you don't hear Barrett, right? Because like in Advent Children, and even in a lot of the cutscene or a lot of the Final Fantasy VII remake, right? You hear Barrett, and it sounds. It's gonna sound weird coming from a pale, pasty white person, but like when you hear black people talk a certain way, it sounds natural, right? And so like when you hear Barrett talk, he sounds like a black person talking, like a normal black person would talk, or like a cool black person would talk, or whatever, right? But when you're just reading it and a bunch of white people have just translated this from Japanese to make it sound I'm just like, oh my
Well,
god.
the thing it's weird because like I didn't even think about Barrett having a voice. It was just that attitude that he was this grumpy kind of character. And then it dawned on me when I heard Cole and Gears of War.
Oh yeah.
And then was like I heard Cole in Gears of War, and then heard Barrett and the Final Fantasy remake. I was just like, oh, I see the connection. I get it now. When black characters are acting this way or have this kind of characteristic of personality, you see why they're doing this kind of they decided to do this kind of voice act.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't think of it if you played it in 1997, 97, 98 when the game
Yeah.
came out.
And like if I would have played this maybe 10 years ago, or even 15, 10, 15 years ago, maybe I wouldn't have noticed, but just the way things have progressed in in a racial fashion in this country, and it makes you more aware of things. I mean, it makes me more aware of things, and so it just kind of like stood out really as kind of, I don't want to say cringy, but a little bit cringy, and like I've kind of like, oh man, I hope they kind of remedy this at some point, or maybe in the newer games he sounds like like he should sound instead of like this. So anyways, not to spend too much time on that. I've also been playing for Video Game Book Club Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice, but I'm playing the Switch version. And Ed, let me tell you, this game is interesting to play on the Switch, right? I already 1K'd it on Xbox. I already beat it on PlayStation 4. I was going to play the PlayStation 5 version and try to platinum it, but I moved all my consoles early, and the only thing I had at our old apartment was my Switch and my Series S. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to replay it on Xbox. I already got all the achievements. Why should I play it there? So I thought it'd be an interesting experiment to play it on Switch. And so I just finished the first, like the Raven boss, like the flying boss, where you have to like kind of walk up this thing and jump into the kind of like this nest area, and then like fight the Raven boss, and then like he'll, like when you're on the ground, it'll charge at you and whatever. Like that's where I'm at. Probably like 2.5 hours in.
Okay.
So cinematically, it does the thing that Wolfenstein 2 and Youngblood does, where the cutscenes are video files, the in-engine video files. And so during cutscenes, the game looks great on the OLED. Like it looks like it's supposed to, right? But then like you'll see it sort of transition out of you'll see it transition out of the video and into the in-game like the in-game graphics and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just like this. It's not that the game looks bad on Switch. It definitely doesn't look as good as it does on Xbox Series X, right? But
yeah,
it doesn't look bad, but that transition is really jarring. Especially if you're like facing Senua and not like her back towards you.
Mm-hmm.
But the game plays fine on Switch. It runs at 30 frames. The thing about it though, and what I would, even if you don't finish the game on Switch and you have the chance to play it,
excuse me,
if you play it with headphones on, like some wired headphones, and you play it in the dark on the OLED Switch, and you have the volume turned up, it is extremely scary.
Really?
It's scarier than when I played it on a TV with headphones on. Like, cause like for me, I was laying on the couch with the lights out, right, and just because I didn't want to wake anybody up, and I had my headphones in, and it was pitch black except for like sometimes I can see the cars go by the window,
Yeah.
right, on the street, and so I'm just like playing it, and there's just like certain loud sounds that happen, or like when when the voice, you start hearing the voices and you hear them kind of surrounding you,
Yeah.
right? And then you have that kind of like the ambient light from the window and other like other houses kind of shining in, or the lights from the cars shining in, and then you have like, you know, you hear the one say behind you, and then you like turn around and it's like super scary, and like then you get hit because you turned around and that voice was lying to you. It's scary, man. That game is like, and I know it's not like a horror game, but that game is dark.
So my plan was to play Saturday, for like 6 or 7 hours. I think the length. I was gonna try to do it all in one run, which I'm probably gonna end up doing it tonight. Because my plan is to. It started on Series X. I got my wireless headphones, and I kind of want to see. Because you did Xbox One, right? Right.
I played it. Well, my first playthrough was on PlayStation 4.
Oh, for it.
My 1K playthrough was on Xbox Series X.
Oh, so you
And,
beat it on Series X?
yeah.
Okay.
And then now I'm playing it on Switch. So I've played it on 3 separate pieces of hardware.
Mm,
Technically, I guess 2 generations, but 3 technically different pieces of hardware.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, because I want to do the Series X version. I think that's kind of like the definitive version, I think.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Uh, uh, so because I know I got to one part of it and I think I just stopped playing, but I want to go back into it. So now that I got these the Xbox headphones, I think I'll be able to hear the voices clearer because I never paid attention to the voices and what they were saying.
You definitely at least have to have stereo headphones.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend uh if you have the like what do you call them, like the 5.1 headphones, like a 5.1 simulated surround sound. I would definitely
Yeah,
recommend those, but stereo at least, to kind of get that, at least you can get the feeling of the voices, like, changing around you, at least shifting sides. That game, it's scary. That game's a special game, and
yeah.
I kind of want to do something with it, for podcast stuff, YouTube stuff, but I don't know if I'm gonna get to it in time for book club. But I definitely want to try something, especially when 2 comes out.
Yeah, because that's what I want to do. I want to be prepared for two.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's why I need to play. Like I could put Final Fantasy 12 on hold. I beat that to me times. I think I need to jump into Hellblade because I haven't beat it yet, everybody, and I want to play and get ready for um Hellblade 2. So I'm just
Hmm.
like, you know what? Let me go through this game, not so much take my time, but like try to play it through. I was just thinking about this. I'm like, man, I remember playing Killzone 3 in 2 days, like beating the game in 2 days. And this I think it's just like there's games that's just hook you in and you play for hours and hours. And I'm talking about narrative single player stuff that you
Hmm.
just get like stuck in. Because I Killzone 2, as good as that game is, I played that all the way through. And then I was just like, you know what? Let me hop into Killzone 3 because I never got to beat Killzone 1. I didn't like Killzone 1 on PlayStation 2. Um,
I don't think many people did.
but like two, but I love the story in 2, and I love the graphics in 3. Like Guerrilla Games did a fantastic job with where they was going and everything. And I haven't beat the fourth game yet and stuff. And I was just like, man. And then it hit me, and I was just like, I need to hook up my PlayStation 4 and finish Horizon Zero Dawn. No, Horizon Forbidden West. Cause I got to a point and I stopped and so I could play Xbox, and I think I stopped so I could play my Series X and my Switch, and I just never went back to PlayStation because it was as great as her Forbidden West is. I think I was kind of getting tired of Halo saying I had to keep doing it. It's on me and putting the. I'm just like, okay, we get the point. I'm like, let's move on from this and
Yeah,
everything.
I'm gonna be honest with you. The only reason why I still have my PlayStation 5, I think, is so I can play Final Fantasy 16 and Final Fantasy 7 at some point. Because if those games were on Xbox, I would not own a PlayStation. I know that's blasphemous to say in the video game space, but like I
Mhm.
just don't care about any. And like even when I mean, God of War, everybody knows how I feel about the new God of War games. They're to me, they're just fine, right?
Mhm.
It's not that the quality's not there, but I feel like I've played I mean, it's with every Sony game, right? Even when I went back to Uncharted, which was kind of like the game you can kind of circle for Sony as being like their entry into the third person action genre, right? And then everything after that kind of became that to a degree. Um, it just like I feel like I've played these games before, and like Final Fantasy 7 and 16 look like something totally different. And even the stuff that Square's been putting out other than Final Fantasy, like Forspoken, and we
Mm-hmm.
talk about Octopath a lot, and Live Alive, and some of the different things that have come to Switch. And I don't want to harp too much on it, but like I'm more interested in that stuff that's PlayStation exclusive than anything that Sony is doing. Even like as excited as I am for Wolverine, right? I'm really stoked for Wolverine. Like I don't know if it'd be worth getting a console for. So, uh I don't know. We'll see, but that's just kind of like my thing, and that's where my gaming conundrum is, Ed, and we'll get to that in a minute, but like hold on to your comments on that conversation, because I have things I want to say, and it
Mm-hmm.
involves everything I know you're about to say, because we've been podcasting for 8,000 episodes of whatever. Um so Hellblade is great. I would play it on something other than a Switch, but also the Switch version, as with many other versions of games, is definitely not a terrible way to play it. uh, unless you maybe are trying to play it on TV. Um, Play it in handheld mode if you're playing on Switch. Speaking of other great games on the Switch, I somehow got sucked back into Nier Automata,
Yes.
because after I finished Uncharted for book club, and I knew Hellblade was coming up, I was trying. When you finish a game and you're trying really desperately to look for something else to play, so you just play a bunch of games until one sticks sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was playing. I was like, huh. I never finished Near. I really loved what I played. I think it's a special game. I don't remember why I stopped playing. Probably some Destiny expansion came out, or some Nintendo first party game came out, or something. Uh, so I got back into it, and it's like I've been playing it on the TV on Switch, and it runs flawlessly. It looks flawless. It runs flawless. I have to give it to Platinum and Square Enix for whatever job they did to get this thing running like this on the
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo Switch is kind of mind-boggling. Uh, so kudos to them. The combat is super fun, super fluid. Uh, I know it's only running at 30 frames, but it's like one of those games, especially like I would compare it to like when you play Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, it's running at 30 frames, and aside from like a couple dips when there's a lot going on, like it feels so smooth at 30 frames that it doesn't feel
Yeah.
like 30 frames.
Yeah.
That's what I think about Nier Automata on Switch, is like it feels so smooth running at 30 that you can't really tell that it's running at 30. And so shout out to Square and Platinum for that. Oh, thank you for making a good experience on the Switch. Thank you.
Yes.
I mean, it's not Square's only good experience on the Switch, but
There's
you get
many.
my point.
Yeah.
Uh, by the way, what's his face? Yokotaro teasing Near 3 apparently. So we'll see. We'll see.
Hmm.
And then last but not least, Ed, the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor update
Yeah, I seen
come
it.
to Disney Dreamlight Valley, and New Realm, Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor, and you can get Monsters Inc. cosmetics and all that kind of stuff. The new Star Path is Monsters Inc. related, so that's yeah. I mean, I haven't played very much of it, but I did play some of it, and I'm mostly just trying to grind out some quests to get to the end game. Uh, and I still haven't played A Rift in Time, which was the big expansion they put out in November. Because I want to beat the main quest, quote unquote, before I get to that. So this game is like it like wants to be more than a life sim
Yeah.
and a life sim at the same time. So like, and granted, my time played is like 5 days worth of time or whatever or something ridiculous, 6 days. Uh, I'm not. I don't want this to make it sound like I'm tired of the game because I'm not. But like, I just kind of wish I knew a faster way to get to where I needed to be. And part of it is because I found a way to game the system in terms of getting money to upgrade all the shops and all the things
Yeah.
that like I skipped a lot of this stuff that would have probably saved me this time. um, and so I'm a little bit behind, but I remember Grayson coming on at one point saying, this game does get, and some of the quests do get really grindy, and that's kind of what turned him off from the game after he spent some time with it. Because I think he wrote the initial guide for it at
Yeah.
some point, uh, way back when it was before its 1.0 release. Uh, but anyways, I'm enjoying it. I think they did release a ton of patch notes for the Switch version specifically because they upgraded a lot of the I think they have new asset they've replaced some assets and made some of the characters look better, and some of the areas that looked kind of muddy don't look so muddy anymore. So that's it. That's what I've been playing. That's everything I've been playing. Uh and I tested out some things on my TV with the lights and stuff, and my kids think it's the most amazing thing they've ever seen, which
Nice.
is fun. But what about you, Ed?
So everybody, like I said, I returned to Final Fantasy 12. Been playing the Contra demo over and over again and trying it on different difficulties, and realize that if you like, I think the hardest difficulty is going to give you kind of the true ending, because if you die in whatever part that you at and you got to continue, when you get to the continue, you start from the very beginning of that stage.
Mm.
So it's going to be interesting to see how challenging this game is going to get. I've been enjoying it on Switch. I know there's some issues with it with the demo, but I could just see some updates coming, or once we get the actual game, I think we'll see it in a better light. With that. Finally finished Ace Attorney, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. I finished that game, and now I'm working on Dual Destinies. I'm halfway through that game, but like I've already beat it. All the Ace Attorney stuff, all those games, I beat them on 3DS. It's just I need to do. There's one special case in the third game that I need to do because I never got a chance to play it because it was like DLC. So I need to play that and finish it. Still haven't started Unicorn Overlord. I'm about to install Dead Cells and Hades again because people have been going back to those two games and going back to them, and some people are starting them because they never just like they bought it but they never played it or never started it. And I'm just like, you know what? Dead Cells is coming to an end. Hades, I love running through that game. Um, and so I'm going to try to go through. I need to see where my strength is at, my progress is at in those games, and then I do got to do the update for Vampire Survivor on Xbox, so I could do like the new content with it,
Right.
uh, and like truly enjoy that and play it. Like I said, I Gotta install Hellblade. No, I already started. I'm sorry. I gotta start Hellblade, Swearing a Sacrifice. And I'm thinking of going back to Psychonauts 2 because I need to finish that game.
I know.
Also,
I'm kind of waiting to see if Xbox will say that's one of the games coming to coming to Switch at some point.
and I would get it on Switch. Um, It's just, man, that game just came and went, and I think it lost me at some point because I'm just like, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Nothing to help me progress. So I just need to pop it in and just like literally fool around. Dude, I haven't. I think this Halloween, I know this is way further in, but I need to start Resident Evil 3 remake. I got the game, never started, never played it, and I'm just like, man, I got a lot of stuff on Xbox and Switch that I bought that I just haven't started, like Room Factory 5. I got the deluxe edition and still haven't started that game. So I'm like, you know what? This week, before when we get to the next Nintendo Power Block, I'm gonna see all the games that I haven't started in the past years and stuff, and start those games and talk about them. So that is going to be like my quest. But yeah, that's pretty much everybody what I've been playing. Yeah, and I'm gonna hop into Hellblade, Swearing the Sacrifice, and I'm probably gonna end up reinstalling. I need to reinstall Forza 5, but I also want to reinstall Forza 4 because I just feel like driving in that game while listening to the radio station, the dance station on it. But maybe I'll just go to 5 and try to play that and beat it and stuff.
If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network. Ed, before we get into family news,
Yes.
I have some how do I want to say this? I'm having some gaming conundrum / issues / I don't know. So I think the thing is generally is that having 3 or 4 different systems with options of games to play, and the amount of games you have to play based on, you know, those consoles or subscription services or, you know, backwards compatibility. I think the overall conundrum is there's just too much to play. So that's 1. 2, I heard it on a podcast the other day, and it made a lot of sense to me, which I've heard this on this podcast before, over the last few years, that the one host is you know, the PlayStation host, right? Like all he plays is PlayStation, and I mean it's Sacred Symbols, right? It's the PlayStation podcast with Colin and, you know, that whole group. I know people don't like Colin, whatever. I don't care if you like him or not. I really like that podcast. I think it's the best podcast on the internet at this point, to be honest. But he said this over and over again, where, you know, the one host is kind of like a PlayStation and PC type person, and the other one is more heavily on the Xbox side of things. And it kind of makes for like a well-rounded discussion from multiple angles, right?
Well, not really.
No,
go ahead.
It does. Have you listened to the show?
I have not listened to the show, but
Okay,
I don't.
Let me finish.
Well, can I let me explain why before you finish. I think because I'm like, okay, so Nintendo is definitely, from my point of view, is that Nintendo is not going to be included into this discussion.
Well, it
And
is because
so,
one of their hosts is the host of their Nintendo podcast, so it is.
but if one of the, but of their own, a particular, are they of their own PlayStation? Do they talk about just PC and PlayStation
No, they
for
only
one of
talk about PlayStation because it's a
PlayStation?
PlayStation podcast.
Okay,
So,
so
and they talk about the other consoles if it's relevant to the PlayStation ecosystem.
okay, so I guess I got the idea because you said those hosts, they're this type of
Well,
player.
the
So
reason why they are the co-hosts is because they have different perspectives from the other ecosystems, so they can have input on the stories that are relevant to those other ecosystems.
mhm,
So, anyways, back to my point. And this has something to do with Pow Block and the way that I operate on this show and that we operate as a unit here,
yes,
right? And and I was really thinking about it, and you know, so being very knowledgeable about one ecosystem by playing in that ecosystem, aside from maybe a game here, a game there, right? Makes you kind of intimate with that ecosystem and have
mhm,
a really solid relationship with that ecosystem. And that made a lot of sense to me, right? I mean, it makes sense to me. Like if you play in one ecosystem, you're going to be really knowledgeable about that specific ecosystem. Um, and to kind of put it at this for this show, right? Like I haven't been playing enough Nintendo or paying enough attention to Nintendo to be as knowledgeable as I should be for this show. Um, so part of me, and I'm gonna, there's some other things that are going on outside of this that we'll discuss off air at some point. But like basically the that conversation is like I'm going to start doing less things so I can focus on the stuff that we're doing for Boss Rush and have, I want this show to be the best it can be. I want
mhm,
Boss Rush podcast to be the best it can be. And I think by not focusing on these two things specifically, it's making, because like I do Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast, and I do an Xbox podcast that aren't part of Boss Rush.
mhm,
And my knowledge base has become, and I've been more aware of this as I've been talking as we were prepping for PAX and we're getting the emails for you know do you want an appointment here, do you want to schedule something here, that like my knowledge of some of these companies is like even the little bit I know about some of these companies is negligible to even discuss, right? Because I know so little, and it makes me feel bad as a host of a video game podcast that I am not, because I don't play enough games anymore to kind of have a knowledge base on some of these things.
mhm.
That is there something above your head? It's like no, like it looks like there's something on your window.
Oh,
What is happening up there?
probably the win. I don't know.
Oh, it looks like there's some creepy thing hovering above your head, and it's it threw
Oh,
me off a little bit. Um, anyways, so some things I know are going to be coming to an end soon in terms of other podcasts that we're doing, and part of me is just like I know the listeners of this show listen because of our chemistry and our back and forth and whatever, but also people come here because they want Nintendo information.
Mm-hmm.
And as somebody who puts together the doc of the show and runs through the news stories and stuff, it bothers me that we exclude things because for me at least my knowledge base isn't there and I can't talk about it enough. And being a part of so many podcasts at one point was fun and exciting, and uh having my hand in all these different baskets made me knowledgeable about certain things. But obviously as life progresses and things happen, you have less time to do things, and to keep up with the podcasts, the one thing that suffered is not only playing games but also researching the things that are going on in the industry.
Yeah.
you know and my conundrum, I guess, is like, I have too many choices and I need to make some choices to make our podcasts better. Um, and I don't know what that looks like yet, but part of me is like, Nintendo Pow Block is the staple of this brand, right? It's
Yes.
the I would say it's the most consistent show. It's the most I mean, it's the most listened to show on the network. It's been our baby for so long, and I mean, even at one point to make the network grow, I took a break from the show for a little bit, and it killed me that we did that. Not that the people that were here did a bad job that replaced me. I think it was a great time, and we got some great segments out of it, and now you and I are doing it again, but like, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like I feel like I haven't done the work that these shows deserve because my podcasting, the podcast that I do has spread me thin on other responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
And actually making our content, this core set of content, Boss Rush Podcast, After Dark, Pow Block, and Book Club and Expansion Pass, like, special and great, you know? And so I don't know what to do, Ed. I don't know. I mean, I definitely want to obviously keep my foot in the other ecosystems, right? Like Xbox, I play a majority of my games there that aren't on Switch, right? Even a lot of the games that are on Switch, I still play there. Uh, but also, uh, I mean, I should probably play more games on Switch because this show is important to us, or whatever the next Nintendo console is. And so that's where I'm kind of stuck. My brain has caused me to have this crazy kind of thought process about all this. And I know it sounds so crazy to people listening, right?
Well,
I sound like a complete idiot, but also like there's a lot of work that goes into everything that we do, and then the other things that I do on the side.
all right. Well, I think it's more of a transitional thing from an outside perspective than it is from your perspective. Um, and what I mean by that is, I'm like, if listeners follow us or followed you just throughout the years until now, that you kind of fell into a one game rut. Like Destiny was video games to you. Nothing else
Mhm.
really mattered. This is even before Tower Casual or anything. So
I mean, my
so
first podcast was a Destiny podcast, right?
I mean before DNA, but I
Yeah.
think yeah, but it was but you made gaming by about Destiny. I look. I know I am Nintendo biased. I know I am a big fan of Nintendo. I buy a lot of Nintendo games. I play a lot of them. I talk about Nintendo because Adam, because I feel like Nintendo always get excluded from the talks, and no one doesn't recognize Nintendo for the good things that they do, the positives that they show, the innovation that they bring into gaming. When like I love Brody, I love Jeff, I love Nick, Evan, all those at Spotcat, I love. Um and I have conversations with Nick and Brody and all of them. Like and I and shout out to the WSAD and beyond. And I talk to them and asking these Nintendo things and stuff because I know that they are really PC focused and PlayStation focused and Xbox, but really a lot of PC stuff. And I think that when it comes to gaming, and if you believe gaming is still just PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, it's not. And when Nintendo doesn't get included into the conversation, it feels like Nintendo is doesn't matter, or they're a stereotypical company and they're this and they're that. And then I'm like it. I kind of feel like people don't recognize Nintendo for what they are doing and the stuff, and it's still to the point that even though Nintendo might not be this and that, they are one of the companies that you can somewhat depend on when it comes to games, and everything. But for you, uh, sorry, right, that's a little rant. But for you, I think it's that you're moving away a little bit out of Destiny, out of that one game idea, and
Yeah.
now you're starting to play different stuff and you don't know where to go because you've been used to Destiny and everything.
Well,
Um,
it's not. I mean, I haven't really been playing Destiny a whole lot in the
yeah.
last. I would say like the last year or so. I mean, I've been playing, but I haven't been like obviously haven't been playing like I used to when we kind of
Mhm.
first started this stuff. Um, but I mean, we haven't like made it official or anything, but I think after the final shape comes out and that raid comes out and we kind of find out what's happening with the story after that, Josh and I kind of discussed at the very beginning when we started that show had an expiration date. Um and it's probably at least in a weekly format, or at least, if we might make it a seasonal show, whatever. But that show's probably going to come to an end at some point this year, which is going to open up a whole night and a whole, I would say 2 nights of free time, because not only just recording it, but preparation and editing and
Mhm.
publishing and promoting and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I mean, uh and so, with certain things ending and trying to kind of move schedules around and wanting to do more, like, now that I'm also like, now that I'm in this office in this new space, I would like to make sure that I shift my focus in the correct direction,
Mhm.
because it's been so all over the place. I mean, I would like to say for the last couple months, but it's really been for like the last year. My focus has been all over the place, whether it's moving or, work, or, um, you know, recording one podcast while doing social media for another one, or you know what I mean, like all this, I mean, you see how much promotion we do. It's probably over promotion, but I want to make sure our stuff is getting out there. And if I
Yeah.
have to work on it for an extra hour or so during the week, or making sure new platforms are being hit, or because, like, obviously Threads has become a thing, and Blue Sky and Mastodon and these places, like, they're obviously not as big as Twitter is, but like there's still places where people are, and people have, left Twitter to go to Threads primarily, and people we know, and I would like to be there, at least, promotionally, and theoretically be there and interact with people there too. And so, like, I don't know. I want to make sure like my head is in the right space and I have the right idea because, and the reason why I'm talking about it on the show instead of like, through a text message or whatever is because like, sometimes people don't have time to text a long answer, or you don't want to read a long answer, or text can be taken out of context, with
Context.
which mine do a lot of the time with people, because I talk different than I text. I try to text direct and not as a, and sometimes when you're direct in a text message, it comes off as snarky or mean sometimes,
Hmm.
and it's not intended that way and whatever. But also, like, I want, especially the audience for this show, like, I want to know what the feedback is because I want to make, I don't want to make another bad decision. I've made plenty of those with this show and Boss Rush in the past, and I just want to make sure that we are doing the right thing. And I want to be able to talk about more Nintendo games specifically, which would lead me down the path of playing more Switch and
Hmm.
classic Nintendo games and stuff like that. But like, I just want to make sure that I am doing the things that I want to be doing and not doing something because it's expected. Because when you
Out of
do things that are,
doing stuff out of obligation. That's
yeah,
what the.
because when you're doing stuff out of obligation or something that people expect you to do because you're doing a podcast, because you're invested in game X or ecosystem Y or whatever, right? Like,
Hmm.
because if there's one thing that I've learned over the years, it's that if you're doing something that is something it expects of you, or you're expected to do something, or you are obligated to do something, your heart isn't in it, and it shows. you
Yeah.
know and I don't ever want to have to play that hand, or deal those cards to our audience and be like, oh, this Nintendo game came out, but you know I can't talk about it because I've been over here doing this. Or, hey, I'm talking about this game even though I'm playing Final Fantasy VII original right now.
Yeah.
That game is not relevant. you know I mean, it kind of is, but it's not, right? Like, the OG Final Fantasy VII is not relevant, but I want to be able to play it and talk about it in a real way, and not in some sort of passive way of like, oh, I'm just playing it, you know. Um,
But stuff like that is always up to that person whenever they want to play a game. You don't have to be on the latest and greatest. You could visit a classic, or you could do your research and look. I tell everybody, I'm like, I did not like Gears of War at all. I did not like Halo. Like, this is all the Halo stuff. I mean, Microsoft stuff. But I'm just like, when the summer happened, I sat down just like, you know what? I had this opinion about this series in this game. So I want to be fair, and this is when I started learning to be more fair to games. Is that I'm going to sit down and play this whole series back to back, and I did it out of my own commitment. Of course, I did it for actual opinion, but I was just like, I didn't like playing this game on the 360 because I had my opinions about that system, but this controller feels good on Xbox One. I got the collection so I could go all do all three games. Let me sit down and play these games. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now I did yell at it for some of the story bits, and what they were trying to go for, but I came away from that to be like, oh, okay, yeah, I did have fun with that game. Now I could see why it got the ratings. I could say that I did enjoy my time with it. Now, people who know me, with even with Uncharted, I did the same thing. I sat down and I played those games, and I
right,
was being fair to them. And it's not so much of, I mean, the gameplay is what it is. I think my thing was is that it just felt so paint by the numbers, and I was being judgmental in this way because I was seeing what they were doing over and over again, and it didn't feel like it to me it felt a certain kind of way where I was just like, this is not enjoyable for me. I wish they could have did something better. And then I played something from Insomniac on PlayStation. I'm just like, this is what I mean by doing things different, making games feel that they are from this company but separated and stuff.
Mhm.
So I mean, I understand what you're talking about and everything, and
Yeah.
um,
And
and
like if
stuff.
I mean if like if I just kind of sat down and thought about it, which I've been thinking about it a lot while we've been moving, right? Like I've been thinking about like what I want to do in terms of podcasting and playing, like where I want to play and how I want to play, right?
Hmm.
And if I was and this has no um no bearing on this answer has no influence from anybody or any podcast or any co-hosts that we have or any of our audience or anything, and it has no like bearing on what's going to happen in the short term, but probably in the mid to long term could see a shift this way for me personally. um I would like to play games on the Nintendo Switch and whatever Nintendo's next console is coming out,
Hmm.
primarily, right? I love the Xbox ecosystem. If it is not on Switch and it's a game I'm interested in, I'm going to play it there.
Yeah.
Even if it is a game on Switch, if it runs better on the Xbox in a significant way, like a Batman Arkham Knight way, for example, right? I mean, if it runs okay on Switch, like Doom, for example, right?
Yes.
I played Doom on the Switch. I liked it on the Switch. I played Wolfenstein 2 on the Switch. I liked it on the Switch. I don't mind playing stuff like that on the Switch. But when it comes to something like Arkham Knight or what was another game that was, had an awful Switch port, I really can't think. Well, I'm just going to use that as an example. Any kind of recent games that are kind of like the Arkham Knight situation, I'm probably going to go play that on the Xbox, right?
Hmm.
Or if it's not available on the Switch, like Suicide Squad, for example, since we're on DC. Not that I'm going to play Suicide Squad now or anytime soon or ever, maybe. Uh, Although I don't think that game looks as bad as people are making it out to be, but I've only watched people play it for a couple hours, so
Yeah.
who really knows? But obviously, I'm going to play that on Xbox. Destiny, I'm going to continue to play on Xbox, right? That's whatever. But
It's the
my
controller for me for Destiny. That's why.
Well, yeah, I mean the Xbox controller is the best controller on the market,
That
in my
game
opinion.
feels so good with a game like Destiny.
Yeah, I I actively avoid my PlayStation because of the controller. That controller hurts my hands. I despise the DualSense controller. Like I get cramp. I can't play it for longer than like 45 minutes to an hour because my thumb starts cramping and my hands start hurting because of the joystick placement, because of the triggers. Like it's just uh so like I primarily want to focus on Switch games and
Hmm.
Nintendo games, so I can be a better co-host on this show and be a voice for Nintendo. And I know on Boss Rush Podcast, I have actively said that I want to be the voice for Xbox on that show. And ultimately, I probably will still be that, you know, but my enjoyment of games mostly comes from the Switch and the handheld nature of it and the fact that I can play, obviously all the reasons people love the Switch and what it can do. Um, and I want to like, and in terms of hosting, like I want to be obviously want to be on Pow Block, right?
Yes.
Obviously, I want to stay here and be a better co-host by focusing on the Nintendo games and the Nintendo news, because that's what you and I have. That's why we have a following, is because of this company and our love for it.
Mm-hmm.
I want, obviously, expansion pass. That's an important thing for us. Would like to get more guests on there to maybe, I don't know, sit one out or so, but like it's still important for us. Obviously Boss Rush podcast. I want to still host that show because I'm the host of that show and I want to be there, and it's the flagship show and all that kind of stuff. But like, if there's one show that I don't want to be on this network, it's After Dark.
Oh,
And the only reason why I'm there is because it's right after we record it, right after Boss Rush podcast. If it was recorded on any other night, I probably wouldn't be on it. um,
oh no.
uh, and it has nothing to do with, the subject matter, or, the way it's hosted, or the people on it. Cause I love all those people, but like, I just
You be ready for
don't,
bed.
it's not even that. I just like, I that the plan wasn't for me to be on it when we started it. The plan was to have a rotating cast of
Yes.
people, and then everybody begged us to do After Dark because they wanted to be on it, and then nobody wanted to be on it once we started it, and so it just kind of became this situation where now it's just a show that we have, and it's fine, whatever, but like,
And people know me. I like I told you, I'm like, it's just my schedule. That's
yeah,
like,
I know. Uh, but also obviously, like, tower casuals and Xbox casuals are probably ending sooner than later because of schedules, and Destiny kind of coming to a natural conclusion for us. And uh you know I, Xbox casuals may move to that Thursday slot every other week. I don't know what's happening, but like, I would actively like to um put a bow on that side of things,
mhm.
and focus more attention on boss rush stuff, because this is where I want to be. Tower Casuals was a nice side project because I liked Destiny a lot, and I still do, still love Destiny, but like, you know like I said, it's coming to its natural conclusion, the game, at the final shape, and probably, you know being born into something different than what we're used to, obviously, with episodes instead of seasons. And uh major expansions are still coming because Bungie confirmed that they're still coming. Unless Sony told them to stop, they have to keep making them, which was something we'll address later on a different show. But that was something really interesting to read, and kind of terrifying for that studio, for Bungie, in particular. uh
I kind of want to write an article titled "Layoff with the Layoffs."
I mean, they Bungie already pretty much confirmed, without confirming, that there are more layoffs coming after the final shape comes out. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to throw all that out there, since I'm in a new space. I'm in a new kind of head space, generally speaking. I want to refocus my efforts because they've been all over the place the last year or so. There's a lot I would like to do and just can't, because of all the podcasts we do. And initially I thought having this many podcasts would extend our reach, but I think having this many podcasts also has diminished the quality somewhat. And I would like to return to quality over quantity on certain things.
Mhm.
Um, so I that's what I wanted to say and talk about a little bit, um, because I do feel bad that like my focus coming off of Nintendo specifically on this show has kind of hindered our, especially our news section, uh, because there's really a lot of news in terms of like like games that are being announced or special editions from places like Super Rare or Limited Run or 8-bit and stuff that we don't talk about and probably should. And I want to do that kind of stuff, and I want to make our show better. And to do that, refocusing myself into a Nintendo, into where I want to be in terms of the games I play in the space I want to be in. Um, I just wanted to throw that out there because it's been on my mind a lot lately, and if I didn't bring it up, it would have sent me into some sort of spiral, and I've been in enough spirals recently where I don't need to be in another one. We'll say. So I don't know. Any thoughts on what I said, Ed? And we can get into Family News. I know it's we're an hour and 30 minutes into the show and we haven't even gotten to news yet.
I, I, I think I said my piece. I think, yeah, I think there's, what you want to focus on is what you should personally focus on. The things that you love, the things that you feel like will make not just great content, but stuff that's going to be something that's going to be enjoyable,
Mm-hmm.
and make you leave, because like people know, like when we have a really good power block, which I think is every time we get on the show, but there's been times that we had a really good power block and we are still talking about stuff an hour after we record and everything, like
Mm-hmm.
that we're still into a topic or a theme, and like even the next day we'll just be like, man, I don't know if people gonna like our that show or anything, but like for us, I'm like, man, that was a really good show because we really had a good discussion about things. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. I one more thing I just want to say real quick, just real quick to get it out there. I appreciate everybody listening to this show, and even if you don't listen to other Boss Rush content, like this show in particular, I'm grateful for everybody who listens and has listened over the last, I mean, at least 7 or 8 years when the Switch came out, but also like, um, man, I just saw this really scary video on Twitter, and I didn't mean to stop there, but it was scary. Yikes. Um, I appreciate everybody who's listened. I mean, like Ed and I have said countless times before, we started this show because of our love of Nintendo. Uh, and it was kind of like the down years of the Wii U and the 3DS when we started.
Mm-hmm.
But we loved it anyway. And now, obviously, Pow Block grew this brand into something else. And um, I appreciate everybody who's listened and still listens. And I want everybody to know that am going to, you know, I'm going to do what I want to do in terms of playing games, but also do better by everybody who listens to the show now, past, and future listeners to make this show the best possible show it can possibly be. Because I personally feel like I haven't done that. Um, so that's where I'm at. Uh, and I know we spent way too much time on that, and so we can move on.
Well, everybody, we are going to move on to Family News. Corey, take it away.
All right, Ed. Our first story here, not necessarily news, but we are moving. The Switch has officially celebrated its 7th birthday. We are entering year 8 of the Nintendo Switch, Ed.
Yes.
And it looks like Nintendo has no intentions of slowing down with the Switch, even with reports and rumors and things that, you know, initially I've heard from outside sources or reporting from other sources like Tom Henderson or even people like Jez Corden or Jeff Grubb and people like that of the Switch coming, now coming in 2025, early 2025, which I still think is the target date. But we're entering year 8 and Nintendo wants to keep this thing going. And I want to read this tweet that came out from Nintendo's future outlook kind of business. I don't initially know where this came from. It came from Nintendo themselves, but I don't know if it was like a bit like an earnings call or a business update type thing. But basically, it's Nintendo's future outlook. So the Switch launched on March 3rd, 2017, which was exactly 7 years ago from the day we're recording this. The Switch has been a staple for us, Ed, and this show for 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like it's going to continue for at least through 2024, which we kind of expected.
Yes.
So this graphic here. It's from a tweet from Wario64 that was retweeted from, I think, some sort of Nintendo account. But basically, it says this: Nintendo Switch future outlook. Nintendo Switch will enter its eighth year. New titles will continue to be released. Maintain and expand user engagement with Nintendo Switch, maintaining business momentum. And then it has Nintendo Switch OLED, Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo Switch Lite consoles all listed here. Underneath that are 3 bullet points, which kind of reiterates certain things. Nintendo Switch will be entering its 8th year in March 2024. We will continue to release new titles and content for Nintendo Switch without being bound by the traditional concept of the platform life cycle. Going forward, we would like to continue to see many consumers play Nintendo Switch and maintain our business momentum. These are words from Nintendo, straight from Nintendo. They want people to be engaged with the Switch without being bound by the traditional concept of the platform life cycle. This tells me 2 things, Ed. Nintendo wants to sell the Nintendo Switch as long as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This also tells me the next piece of hardware is iterative and not necessarily a new quote unquote console. It tells me that it's basically from the Xbox One to the Xbox Series console. It's the same platform, it's the same store, it's the same kind of concept. There will be new games that are specific to that platform, but some of the games will be able to be played on both. And that excites me beyond belief, because that basically would confirm certain things like backwards compatibility, digital libraries moving forward, possibly being able to backwards compatible with your full physical library. Also would tell me like accessories and certain things would be like pro controllers and stuff would be able to be used on this next platform. Maybe not Joy-Cons, right? Maybe not Joy-Cons, but also maybe Joy-Cons. We don't know. But the fact that Nintendo said, specifically the second bullet point, we will continue to release new titles and content for Nintendo Switch without being bound by the traditional concept of the platform life cycle, also tells me that Nintendo, maybe for the first time ever, is forward thinking from a platform perspective. And this is really exciting as a Switch owner, as someone who had, as a team of people who the Switch has been a staple for us for such a long time.
Yeah.
Our libraries are huge. I counted my Switch games at. I have like 350 Switch games.
Oh wow.
Like digitally, whether, I
Oh
purchase them or, you know, companies giving them to us for review purposes or, you know, all that kind of stuff, right? Like
yes.
my Switch library is huge. If I lost that, like my Wii U library sits on my shelf over there and it fits on one shelf, right? One normal bookshelf that fits 50 DVD cases across one shelf. My Wii U library is one shelf, right? My Switch library would fill that whole bookcase if I had physical copies of everything.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
And if I wasn't able to use that moving forward, like that would be upsetting, right? But
Uh-huh.
I've put my trust in a somewhat digital library for Switch, although with everything that happened with that, like the Microsoft scare of like, the um the Xbox is going away and your digital library is like whatever. Not that I believed that, but it did give me that thought of like, oh, maybe I should have physical backups of things, or maybe have somewhat of a physical library. So I'm on the hunt for certain physical things, but that's besides the point. Ed, tell me your thoughts on this future outlook. What excites you? What do you think?
So I think this is nothing new. Everybody. And I think it's because of the business meeting or the CEO meetings that Furukawa had, I think in January or February, when the investors and stuff was asking him questions, and he was, giving answers on kind of what they're looking forward to in their plans. So I think this year, definitely with Nintendo still, giving us ports of games and giving us new titles and stuff. I think they're still doing that. We want to make sure that we are planning things and releases things at the right time when games are ready.
Mm-hmm.
We had 7 years of success, and throughout those 7 years of success, we have learned so much. So with all that knowledge, this is how we could keep that momentum going until we're ready to announce our next system. When we are able to have games and new partnerships and stuff, ready to support the next console. Um, I'm excited about this. I think it kind of gives a little bit relief that's the next Nintendo console talk could start dying down and not be a focus for attention for people to get clicks and stuff. Um like I think it's just good knowing that Nintendo does have a plan and does have a strategy of releasing games for the system for another year or a couple of months and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Because I think what's going to happen is that if Nintendo really got a hold on some amazing not whirlwind, some amazing mind blowing graphics,
Mm-hmm.
every, I think of course the Nintendo fans are going to be looking at it, and I think everybody else on the outside gonna be like, "Well, we experienced this a long time ago, and da da this, da that." I'm like, "But you didn't pay
Did you
attention."
play Final Fantasy Remake in your car on the way to vacation?
Right, right. And I think the thing is like, well, yes, that is true, but did you pay attention? Not even so much pay attention. Do you see what Nintendo is doing with something that other companies should have or could have been doing, and it's getting talk? Once again, when Nintendo does something that someone else previously does, when the talk about that stuff is continuing on, that's that's somewhat good success for Nintendo because they got the eyes on them. And I think just with Switch alone and what they planning on, they're keeping people's eyes on what they're doing, which is
Mhm.
good business because once it comes out, then it's gonna be like, okay, not so much fight or flight, but it's gonna be like, oh, let's talk about games.
Mhm.
This is what Nintendo is all doing. And like once again, Nintendo could take the focus away from Microsoft and Sony. That's gonna be the thing that's gonna have people talking about more of Nintendo in a certain way. And their games have been doing it. I think we're probably getting another Fire Emblem Three Houses or
I
style
hope so.
game. I think of course we're gonna get some remix, but I think some of the franchises that haven't had a chance to get like a remake or a comeback or you know really get their chance to shine and stuff, or even sequels are going to make a comeback because Nintendo knows that as long as we keep supporting our console and giving gamers enjoyment and fun with our software, we are in a good spot.
Mhm.
And yeah, stuff is going to be under wraps, but if we could do that, that means it's a good thing for us. Hey, Nintendo did it with Smash Brothers Ultimate with that silent trainer, and look how much people were putting music to it and how much that marketing built up and went everywhere because Nintendo was like, we don't have to put much effort or money into it. We'll let everybody else do their own thing and market for us.
Mhm.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. Um the other thing this tells me too, right, is like I think it's very clear to us who have been playing games on Switch, aside from a few like technical hiccups in larger games like Zelda and Xenoblade specifically,
Hmm.
with not like the games are broken or anything, but just dropped frames and running on this in handheld mode and stuff like 540p or 600p instead of the native 720p that the screen outputs, right? um Nintendo doesn't need the power to make these games, right? They don't need it. Mario Odyssey runs at 1080p 60 frames a second with
Hmm.
no problem whatsoever. Mario Kart 8 1080p 60 frames a second unless you're playing with 4 players, no problem. um so like, obviously, like, we would love to see more power for games like Zelda and Xenoblade. What could the next Xenoblade game look like on a console that's as powerful as a PS4 Pro instead of a Xbox 360, right? Because that's
Yeah.
essentially what the Switch is an Xbox 3, a little bit more powerful than an Xbox 360 in handheld form. Like, what could you get from the next Zelda or the next Xenoblade with that much power? Um, we've talked about Horizon kind of being the benchmark in terms of graphics for the PlayStation 4, at least. Um, at least I have. I think that's the best looking game on the console by far, in a lot of ways. And also Forbidden West is an incredible looking game.
Hmm.
Uh, but what if we got a Zelda that looked half that good, or like half, like, I don't want to say half that good, but like that kind of like those type of graphics, and we point to the Wii U tech demo and like, man, that's what a Zelda could look like with a PS4 power, right? The and that's what I would love to see. But uh anyways, aside from that, like, what this tells me is that Nintendo wants I think Nintendo wants some sort of 4K. I think this leadership team, this regime wants some sort of 4K box for people to play 4K games on a TV, and they want more power to appease third parties so that they can have, because Nintendo has this regime has been very much active for third party support, as opposed to Iwata and Reggie, and try to have their own games do the talking, which is fine. Nintendo's always been that way. They've always walked to the beat of their own drum. They've never really looked to third party as part of the experience on Nintendo. And if third parties wanted to support it, great. If not, well, we don't get those games, right?
And this is the thing that's been literally a change. And I might do this as a expansion pass, but at this point in time, third party need Nintendo badly.
Well, I don't think. I don't.
At this point in time,
that's
they
a little exaggerated. They need a whole new business.
The thing about it is, third party right now needs Nintendo badly, because doing, like I said,
I wouldn't say Nintendo specifically. I think these major AAA games need to be on as many platforms as they possibly technically can be.
That's the problem. They are on the powerful systems and they're not doing what they need to do to keep people employed at those companies. So at this point in time, with all of this
different conversation.
It is a whole different conversation. But if your AAA is not doing things, is not doing numbers, and you're not on a Nintendo console, even with an original IP where it's going to keep you somehow in the black, then you need to shift your business. At this point in time, Nintendo is winning. And that's why I said I kind of want to make this as an expansion pass, because I don't want to get off the topic. But I think right now, personally, and I was just thinking this at work, and I might have to write it. But I think third party need Nintendo badly. You have, at this point in time, you may not have a choice. Yes, you can still make your AAA games, but you may have to do the Square Enix route, where you're making small games, and hopefully you're doing 1.5 million or whatever, and it's going to keep your company in the black, where you don't have to let people go. Because right now, your strategy of putting it on every platform and all of this stuff, that's not working. You put your big cinematic game on 3 powerful platforms, and even Steam Deck, and it's not doing you numbers. It's not doing the stuff. So you may have to.
Just to play on that point real quick, right? Like, I agree with some of the things you're saying. I disagree with some of the things you're saying. But you look at something like, what are the 2 biggest games in the past 2 months? Pow World, a $30 experience, right? Mm-hmm. Not the most AAA quality looking game. It's very, I would kind of compare it somewhere between Breath of the Wild and Fortnite in terms of graphical fidelity of what I'm seeing of that game. And Helldivers, a $40 experience, right? These aren't AAA games. And then you see something like Justice League, or not Justice League, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, right? Which is, they spent a lot of money on that game, 9 years of development, a lot of money spent on this game, and there's less than 500 concurrents on Steam, right? And not that Steam concurrents are everything, but it definitely tells you something. And it's not doing very well on consoles at the moment either, from what I've been hearing. I think the game looks better than people are saying it is, but also it has the same problem that the Avengers game had, where like people don't want a superhero live service game of established characters. They want to be able to. The reason why games like Destiny and The Division and Fortnite to an extent work, right, is because you are creating your own character, you're creating your own experience. You in Fortnite, like you're getting skins that you can apply to your character and you can swap them out, right? That's the big thing for them. But like, you're creating your own experience, right? Whereas You go into something like Suicide Squad, you are one of 4 predetermined characters already. And, Avengers, like, oh, I'm Captain America, but, I'm Captain America, so I guess I'll get a new shield next loot box or whatever. And so it's like a combination of like chasing trends and trying to be the next big thing, and companies wasting money on trying to chase these trends, along with the cinematic experience of motion capture and visual fidelity and textures, and spending a year and a half on a boss fight that you'll see for maybe 12 minutes in its entirety, right? Like, there's that story that came out about Final Fantasy 16 where one of the icon battles was like one team spent a year and a half developing that boss battle, and it was like, what, 12 to 15 minutes you saw that. And like, that's a lot. And granted, I like Final Fantasy 16. I would like to finish it at some point this year. I like it. I think it's cool. But like, man, you see that, and then you see what Nintendo spent on something like Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and how many more copies Xenoblade Chronicles 3 sold, at least within initially, right? I don't know what the numbers are now, but like, comparatively within the first couple months, like, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 outsold Final Fantasy 16. And that's crazy, because Xenoblade Chronicles, like, I would say from a mass audience perspective, is nowhere near as big of a brand as Final Fantasy is.
Right.
And I think that speaks to two things, right? One, like, I think a track record of negatively received Final Fantasies, in terms of the 13 trilogy and 15 and a bunch of weird spin-offs, whether you like them or not. I liked 13. I finished 16 or 15, and I really liked 15. So maybe I'm not the one to listen to, but like, maybe that contributed to it. Maybe the financial factor, maybe it's only on one platform instead of 3, has something to do with it. But like, Xenoblade is on one platform. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 did a ton of it did a huge amount of numbers. And I think that's going back to, like, you're looking at Nintendo's next console and them being iterative. Like, if you have a sequel to Xenoblade, like Xenoblade Chronicles 4, like, even if it's not a direct sequel, but it touches on the events of these other games, right? Like, you want to be able to still sell these, the definitive edition of 1, and maybe a game of the year edition or upgraded edition of 2 when it comes out, or like a definitive edition of 3 on the next console that has all the DLC or something, right? You're going to be able to want to sell these experiences, which I think is Nintendo's next step, by the way, and we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But like, what's lacking from Nintendo's library that every other company sells is a game of the year edition. With all, just listen real quick. A definitive edition, a game of the year edition, a gold edition. All those types of games are missing from the Switch library. So I want everybody to pay attention when the next console comes out in a year, and see what types of definitive editions Nintendo sells. Are they going to sell a Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Definitive Edition with all the characters on the cart? And the DLC characters aren't on the cart, obviously.
Right.
All the levels aren't on the cart. All the music is on the cart. Are they going to sell a definitive edition of that? Are they going to sell a definitive edition of Mario Kart 8? Are they going to sell, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3 definitive editions with Torna and that DLC? I think they are. I think they are.
This is the thing about it. If they do it, it's a bundle that's on the eShop, and that's it. They're not doing the. They're not.
They already sell those bundles on the eShop,
right?
You can
buy and guess what? That's their definitive, and they're gonna leave it at that. They're not gonna do anything else.
I don't know. I think you could see something along those lines. Maybe not for every game, but I think you're going to see one or two.
I think we already know that if Nintendo does anything HD remaster or remake or whatever, that is the definitive edition. That's it. They're not doing a Game of the Year edition. They're not doing all of that of their first party. They know that if we put our product out at this price point, you better buy it at this price point or wait it at a sale, even if it is on our next console.
Well, we'll see. Anyways, just to kind of wrap this topic up,
Mm-hmm.
I think back to my point actually, I guess, is I think Nintendo's third party efforts are becoming uh, they are being more proactive about third party support. They are being more proactive about getting indies on the console, right? They have been the whole generation.
Mm-hmm.
They're being more proactive in many ways, and I think two things that could help that obviously are a more powerful console, right? And just in general of getting different types of experiences onto the console and having it. I think it might be a Wii type situation, although not as clearly as interesting or as crazy as the Wii situation, where like the reason the Wii died, I think, is because it didn't have HDMI out and it wasn't an HD console, and HD TVs took off way faster than I
Yeah.
think Nintendo expected, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now every TV that sells is a 4K TV, and not that Nintendo's really concerned about that, but I think Nintendo would like to be a part of some sort of conversation where I wonder if they see the metrics and they say not enough people are playing on TV, or maybe they think that, maybe they don't care, right? But I mean, the last time they reported these numbers, like m- way more people were playing Switch in handheld mode
Mm-hmm.
which is why the Switch Lite came out, right? That is the reason why the Switch Lite is a thing, right? It's to sell a cheaper model of the Nintendo Switch because people like to play in handheld mode. Also, the Switch Lite has a superior control method. The controllers are attached to the console and it has a proper D-pad, and I will never shy away from saying that. uh, that's it. That's all I want to say. Also, there was an update today where there are over 11,000 games on the Switch eShop now, and about half of those are $1.99
Questionable
complete editions
content
of hentai puzzle games. So,
or some mobile games or just some
oh,
like
yeah,
really trash bin
yeah.
worthiness.
There's some interesting games on. It's so funny when I hear these companies say they can't get their game on Switch. When I'm like, how can you and some, like a sort of like established, somewhat established indie studio can't get a dev kit for a Nintendo Switch, but then you see like every day you log in and like recently released, there's like a dumpster fire of garbage games on there essentially, until you come to the first like real experience, quote unquote, and it's like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Yeah.
You know, how many pizza pizza delivery tycoon games can I have, or bakery princess tycoon, or whatever
Or,
these
or
things are
or
called?
some weird Google translated
Yeah,
uh he might
yeah,
be
yeah,
Trouble Simulator 2000
yeah,
Galaxy X Squared. You be like, what the heck is this nonsense?
right. um yeah, anyways, all right, Ed, we're gonna move on to the next story because we spent way too much time on that story. A happy 7 years to Switch.
Yes.
I'm excited to see new experiences for the Switch this year. Not that I'm like, I don't want to be negative Nancy over here, but there aren't any new experiences for Switch this year except for Princess Peach Showtime so
That
far.
we know of.
No,
Let's add that.
I said so far. I said so far.
Okay.
So far. I mean, I think the only other closest thing would be another Code Recollection because I mean they've been really upgraded, and nobody really played those games on the DS or whatever other consoles they came out on. Um, but even then, anyways, I'm excited for new experiences. Speaking of new experiences, Ed, we said we might do a Nintendo Direct or a Direct recap show on this. We felt we didn't need to because there was really nothing. But the Pokemon Presents from February happened. There's a couple new things announced in terms of games, a couple uh, anime things, a couple like there's a Pokemon Go Horizons series crossover. Uh, the Pokemon show, Pokemon Horizons, not Horizon, the
Yeah.
PlayStation. Uh, they're updating Pokemon Sleep, but there are two things I want to point out here, Ed. There is the mobile Pokemon trading card game app coming,
That looks really nice.
which I mean, I'm shocked this has not been a thing, right? I'm shocked. Every card, every card is going to have a QR code on the back now. You watch that you can scan into this app if you buy physical cards.
Yeah.
There was some Pokemon Unite updates, which I totally forgot Pokemon Unite was a game that came out. But also the major addition here, which I think a lot of people think it's going to be the first cross-gen game for Nintendo, is Pokemon Legends ZA, which Pokemon Legends. This upcoming Legends Arceus style game will be heading our way at some point in 2025, with all the action taking place in Lumio City, which you might remember from Pokemon X and Y, which I think a lot of people think X and Y were like the last great Pokemon games, not just good but great Pokemon games. They also were the only ones that got direct sequels with X and Y 2, right? Or the
No, Black
first,
and White. Black and
the
White was
first.
first.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Black and White got the
You're right.
sequel with Black and
You're
White.
right. X and Y didn't. I don't know. I don't think X and Y got direct sequels. Maybe they got something. I don't know. I'm not a Pokemon person. Somebody correct me. Somebody help me. Um, but fittingly, Mega Evolutions also look to be making a comeback for this one. I don't know much about X and Y at all. Pokemon X and Y. I don't know what Lumio City is from this trailer. It looks like some sort of digital kind of weird city. Do you have any idea what this is? But
It's
it,
it's it's been a long time with X and Y. I do remember only. I mean, I still own those games, but I just never beat it.
yeah.
And stuff. I I think this is going to be like taking kind of place in a modern age, like a further along from X and Y and everything. Um, and I just want to say this, everybody, before we get for Corey, you say more. Um, the reason why this game is coming out in next year. It's not because of Game Freak doing their development. Game Freak still have their own game that they're putting on other platforms or they're putting on PlayStation. So I think they want to get that development done and out the way before they get back into Pokemon. I don't know how big Game Freak is, but I know a lot of them are focusing on their own game. So once their game get released, I think what's gonna happen is Pokemon's not gonna get delayed, but I think it's gonna come out a little bit in the fall and stuff. I don't think it's gonna be if Switch 2 does come out in March, I don't think it's going to be compatible um with that game
Mm-hmm.
and stuff because you know, I think it's going to be too late for them to kind of work on some development on trying to get that game for that system.
I mean, also like just on that point, right? First of all, Pokemon has always whatever their whenever a new console comes out, they've always put their game on the last one, right? Like the
Yep.
3DS was already out, and one of the versions of Pokemon, it might have been X and Y, when the 3DS came out, was a DS game. When the Switch came out, they still put Sun and Moon and their direct sequels on the 3DS. And this, to me, part of me says that this will be on, like, it'll be a Switch game, which I think they even said as much in the trailer that it will be coming to Switch. Maybe they didn't specify. I don't quite remember. But also, like, if the next console is backwards compatible, it'll still be playable on the next console, right? Um, I don't know if it'll be boxed different or not. I would actually like to see going back to the next console. I would actually really like to see the next console use the same box format as the Switch. Maybe the binding is a different color, like maybe it's black or blue or purple or something. Man, returning to purple would be awesome. But I mean, if you remember the Nintendo Labo boxes the spines were black.
Yeah.
And the fitness games were black. The spines were black and not red, which indicated to me that these are different experiences than your typical Switch experience. So I think that would be really cool if they did something like that, or they took the Game Boy Color approach where, like, hey, these cross-gen games, the box is this color. The Switch games are obviously going to be red, but then the whatever the next console is, these boxes are purple or blue or something. Maybe that would be a cool transition where, like, hey, Switch is red, cross-gen would be purple to indicate it's playable on both, and the new console would be blue because red and blue make purple if you are a color person. Red and blue make purple, and that would indicate cross-gen. I don't know. To me, that sounds cool in my head. Who knows how that works in theory? But aside from that, like, I think this Pokemon game will ultimately be a Switch game. It might run better on the new console. It will be playable on the next console as a backwards compatible title.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah. And then there's Ed eating snacks on the show. All right. Next small story, Ed, which I sent you earlier yesterday, I think, or 2 days ago. Octopath Traveler has been delisted on the eShop. And some people were, like, really concerned about this. But it came out later that it seems that Nintendo's publishing contract for Octopath Traveler on the Switch has come to an end, and Square Enix is going to continue to publish the game on the console. So in order to do that, there has to be a new listing for the game with Square Enix as the publisher, because they do publish it on Xbox and PC. Square Enix does. First game's still not on PlayStation, by the way, which is incredibly interesting. I wonder if that changes now that Nintendo is not the publisher. I don't know if that was like a rights thing, or like Nintendo and Sony's kind of 30-year conflict is still a thing, and this is like put a little salt in the wound. But I wonder if Square as the publisher will put this on PlayStation next year.
They will.
It's just so funny that it's on, like, the one game that's basically made for not just Nintendo players but PlayStation players is not on PlayStation. It's on Xbox, which essentially no Xbox players care about pixel art RPGs.
Well, it might be also a contract thing that Xbox got the first game and Sony got the second game.
Could be. Also, Xbox probably paid for that game to come to Game Pass. Because remember, when it came to Xbox, it was a day one Game Pass game.
Game Pass, right? And when part 2 came out for PlayStation, I think there wasn't physical. Xbox. Right, but they did get a physical, and They did get digital, of course, but Square Enix had to publish it. So it was like kind of maybe like a co-publishing deal or
Yeah.
something.
So that was an interesting story I wanted to point out. Also, an interesting story that was pointed out to me by Pat Klein from the Boss Rush podcast. You might have heard of him, that fellow. He sent a tweet in our Boss Rush podcast group chat, and Toys for Bob, the developer of the Crash trilogy and the Spyro trilogy, and a couple other kind of Activision or character platforming type games, is leaving Microsoft and Activision Blizzard. They made an announcement on the Toys for Bob blog that says, "We're going indie." I'll just read the blog post real quick, Ed, and then you can kind of um, make your thoughts known. We're thrilled to announce that Toys for Bob is spinning off as an independent game development studio. Over the years, we've inspired love, joy, and laughter for the inner child in all gamers. We pioneered new IP and hardware technologies in Skylanders. We raised the bar for best-in-class remasters in Spyro Reignited Trilogy. We've taken Crash Bandicoot to innovative, critically acclaimed new heights. With the same enthusiasm and passion, we believe that now is the time to take the studio and our future games to the next level. The opportunity allows us to return to our roots being a small and nimble studio. To make this news even more exciting, we're exploring possible partnership between our new studio and Microsoft. And while we're in the early days of developing our next new game and a ways away from making any announcements, our team is excited to develop new stories, new characters, and new gameplay experiences. Our friends at Activision and Microsoft have been extremely supportive of our new direction, and we're confident that we are confident that we will continue to work closely together as part of our future. So keep your horns on and your eyes out for more news. Thank you to our community of players for always supporting us through our journey, and we can't wait to share updates on our new adventure as an indie studio. Talk to you soon. Um, Thoughts, Ed?
So I was talking to Luke Lore about this from XCP because he made that post before I got, because this has been like late at night on Friday when this news came out. And I pretty much told him, I was just like, I think Toys for Bob was tired of making Call of Duty. Like, I think they lost their spirit of developing games because of Activision having most of their developers just focus on Call of Duty. So I think they decided, yeah, let's bounce off here because this is the only way that we're going to have freedom of making the games that we want to make. You know, I think if you look at it, they're kind of like on the same line as Platonic in a sense, um, where they all worked at Rare. They all was doing something, but then they left. Um, and then as time went by, they ended up forming Platonic because they missed making the games that they used to make back in the day, but they were known for. So I think with Toys for Bob, they want to make games again that they're known for. Definitely family friendly games without having the judgment or interference of a big publisher telling them what they should be doing and what they will be doing. So
Yeah, I mean, my opinion is not far from that. They said keep your horns on, which tells me they're probably working on a Spyro 4 similar to Crash 4. Also, I think they probably wanted to make this decision because right, they were working on Call of Duty, but after that last Call of Duty released, there were some layoffs at Toys for Bob.
yeah.
And I think that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back, even though Microsoft purchased them. Also, I think they may have gotten hit by this latest round of Activision Blizzard layoffs earlier this year, right? The 1,900 or so Xbox/Activision employees that got axed. So I think they probably want to avoid, obviously, like a corporate slash shareholder type overlord company of like, hey, if we don't meet these numbers, then we have to lay people off or whatever. And so I think this is ultimately good for a studio like Toys for Bob. My concern, on the other hand, is that if they do end up making new IP and they don't sell, what happens to the studio, right? Does somebody try to pick them up? Will they, like, and I don't want to sound like a pessimist because I want them to succeed. I think I think a lot of people like the studio because they are small and they're able to do certain things like Spyro and Crash, right? I hope whatever they do next makes them a lot of money so they can continue to make more games. I hope that the worst doesn't happen, because that's also another thing that was good about Microsoft and Activision, is that even though they were owned by these massive corporate entities, essentially they had the studio had a lot of life in it, and it would be able to survive as either a support studio or even going into a creative way, with Microsoft seeming to let studios do what they want, right? So there's pros and cons to each side. I want Toys for Bob to succeed, and if this is the best way they feel they can succeed, I am pulling for them, and I'm excited to see what they do.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this is a beefy episode, Ed. Our next story, speaking of companies leaving, Saber Interactive is leaving the Embracer Group. According to Bloomberg, they have purchased themselves from the Embracer Group for about $500 million, including the Star Wars Knights of the Republic remake that they're working on, which makes the Embracer Group, they need about $2 billion. So this is a quarter of that. Also, Embracer Group is also selling Gearbox, the Borderlands creators, to someone. They are not buying themselves. They have not announced who, but I think the easy guess would be 2K, since 2K publishes their games and Borderlands is their biggest franchise. So that would be my guess. But how do you feel about Saber leaving?
Well, they were just like, shoot, y'all closing another studio. She ain't gonna about to close us. Let's pay ourselves out. Deuces, we out.
Yeah.
We'll make that money back.
Yeah. And I think Saber also has that, the way they operate, right? They do a lot of remasters and porting. And I think those types of contracts have made them a pretty stable studio. And I think that's why they were able to do that. They ported The Witcher to Switch, by the way, in case anybody wants to know a Switch project that they've done. They also did Hob Definitive Edition, I think, at some point. And I know Panic Button ported it to Switch, but I think Saber maybe developed it. I'm not 100% sure. But they've done a lot of things, and I hope they succeed as well.
Yeah, they will.
They have a satellite office in Florida, I think. So even though I think the company started as a Russian developer, but they've since moved out of that situation, and they have a satellite in Florida, and hopefully they succeed.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This last story here, Ed. It seems that Nintendo, and this is from a Steven Totillo tweet, Nintendo is suing the creators of popular Switch emulator Yuzu, saying that their tech illegally circumvents Nintendo's software encryption and facilitates piracy, seeking damages for alleged violations and a shutdown of the emulator. So, Ed, I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, so I'm going to get my thoughts in quickly and let you do your Ed thing. Okay.
Yes.
I think emulation in terms of video game preservation and getting especially games that aren't readily or easily available, right? I think emulation is a good thing overall. I also know that creating an emulator is not illegal. It's the distribution of ROMs that is illegal. But where this gets muddy for me is that this is an emulator of a currently on the market console with easy to access software, and I think that is where I don't like this, where like the Switch is Nintendo's main platform right now, and it will be for it'll be a platform for Nintendo uh for at least the next 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if the next console comes out, this platform's still going to get some sort of support. So this emulator really does violate this, and I think there's somewhere in either this story from Stephen Totillo or another story where over or Tears of the Kingdom was downloaded on this emulator over 1 million times.
Yeah.
Which is like, Nintendo
Before the
sells it for
game even came
$70.
out.
Yeah. And so, if Nintendo sells Zelda for $70, that's $70 million and Nintendo's missing out on. Like, and I know in the grand scheme of things, people roll their eyes and say Nintendo doesn't need the $70 million, but this is it. What if a company that put their game out on Switch, really excited to get their game out there, had over 1 million downloads of the game and didn't see that $70 million or $60 million or $40 million because they sold 1 million it was played 1 million times without people paying for it. That studio could close down, and so it's about that. It's more about that than actually emulating. So for me, having an emulator for the Switch, and we know people that use emulation for Switch games, right? And I don't support it. People can do whatever they want. If they get caught, they'll be in trouble, not me. But I don't support emulation of current consoles. And that's kind of all I have to say.
Okay. For all you people who are rooting against Nintendo in this, stop it.
It's the same people who are complaining about layoffs in the industry. So
right. Stop it. They are taking
pick a side.
they are doing something illegal, and they're not supposed to. That's Nintendo's IP. Nintendo and their employees that Nintendo pays to make these games are a business who are trying to recoup that money and so they can keep their business going and be able to pay people. They are doing something completely illegal to somebody else's IP and trying to make money off of it if they're trying to sell it or anything. Second of all, these mugs was on Discord giving Nintendo receipts and evidence to use for this case. So why would you say, well, Nintendo deserves it and all? Nintendo does not deserve this. You mad or somebody mad because Nintendo did something, or it might be something Smash related. You still upset about that, and so now you think that Nintendo deserves this. No, there are people who are the one guy who went to jail and he has to pay back Nintendo all that money. They just did a report on him and he's saying that he is struggling.
Well, shouldn't have done what you did.
Right. So it's So saying that Nintendo deserves this, they didn't do anything. Nintendo has made a system, they make games, you go out and you purchase them the legal way to play them and everything. You stealing it, or you rooting for this company who made this emulator for people to download stuff and steal these games. No, good and well, Nintendo does not play. You're not supposed to be messing with Nintendo stuff at all. You're not supposed to be messing with any company IP. So get it online the day the story broke, and people saying that well, this is what Nintendo deserves. No, they don't. And why would they deserve it? What have Nintendo done to double cross you to feel like they deserve this?
Yeah, it seems like anybody who's successful, people, and to me, it's like when companies become successful, or these companies are become, larger than people want them to be, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? Because it was just announced that Nintendo was, we didn't cover it here, but Nintendo, maybe we covered it last week. Nintendo is the richest company in Japan
Mm-hmm.
with $11 billion in
Dollars in
cash.
cash.
And and that doesn't include any kind of any assets that could be liquidated at some point, or property, or whatever, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
uh, I think when people hear stuff like that, they automatically triggers something to say this company is big and successful, we need to take them down, regardless of who it is. Could be Nintendo, could be Disney's another big one, Apple, whatever. We have to find a way to take them down because they're this massive corporation, and we gotta do something to stick it to the man, right? And
Right.
that's what this emulator is, and why people are sticking to the side of the emulation company, right? Because they want to stick it to the man, and they don't want to pay $60 for a game that came out, 15 years ago on a different console. So they want to, they want to get it for free, right? And I think the way Nintendo releases remasters or remakes or ports or whatever,
Yeah.
you know, okay, yeah, some of them, sure, whatever, right? Like, I think Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, you could point at that and say it was $50 on the Wii U, it's $60 on the Switch. Why is that? And you could argue that the Funky Kong mode is not enough to warrant that extra $10. Or, when it became a Nintendo Select on the Wii U, it was $20, and it was still for sale for $20 and $60 on the Switch, right? But like, nobody bought a Wii U, so yeah, they're going to sell it for $60 to make up the
Mm-hmm.
cost. Um, and anything else that has come out since then, right? They like the Super Mario 3D World, I think, is a good example of, like, it was $60 on the Wii U, it's $60 on the Switch. The Switch version has the entirety of Bowser's Fury, which is a 4 to 6 hour experience, of a new style of Mario. This kind of open world concept, this new kind of game essentially that comes with it. Are you going to argue that? I guess you could. Whatever. A Metroid Prime remastered, $40. Pikmin 3 Deluxe came with all the DLC and the multiplayer stuff and new multiplayer stuff. Mario Kart 8 got that new battle mode. That was 60. There's all these things that people point to and complain about and whatever. Here's the problem for those who are complaining about Wii U ports or whatever, or even GameCube ports. You didn't buy those consoles. You didn't buy them. So what does it matter? You just want to stick it to the man, and you want everything for free, and you feel entitled to play these things even if you can't afford them, right?
You can
That's
afford them.
the
You choose not to afford them. That's
I
the
mean,
problem.
it's I mean, you don't have to play everything all the time. Also, if you can't afford it, that doesn't mean you're allowed to play it, right? You borrow it from a friend, you go rent it, you do whatever, or you buy it. That's and I can't support people emulating current consoles. I can't.
I can't. If you're going to emulate, okay, fine, do it on your own time. But then don't make a big deal when those people get caught with emulation and having software that affects other people's IP or not IP hardware, and don't think that hardware company is has the right to go after them. Because what's going to happen is that Nintendo going to put them out of business, or Yuzu is going to try to do something to sell them. Because my thing is this: if y'all so happy that Nintendo was it's getting it stuck to the man and all of this stuff, and y'all putting money in their lawyer fund, what was they doing? What was Yuzu doing? Giving y'all the tools to do emulation and not making no money off of it.
Yeah. I'm just tired of everybody thinking they deserve everything to be handed to them for free, or they deserve to have everything even if they don't pay for it, right? I mean, it's annoying. It's annoying.
My thing is this: how in the heck are you able to get the hardware to do this, but then don't have money to get the software to support on that hardware? That doesn't make no sense at all.
Yeah. Let's spend $1,500 to $2,000 on this gaming rig PC, but then we think we deserve every game for free because we spent all of our money on this gaming PC or this, emulation piece of handheld hardware that we're going to take with us, or these like popular emulation machines. Now granted, NES, Super NES, classic games, whatever, go ahead. There's a lot of games that are not easily accessible, right? But I mean, generally not easily accessible.
Mm-hmm.
With these subscription models on all the platforms now and these collections, you could obviously make an argument, right, that they are easily accessible. Most of these games are easily accessible now. But I'm just going to say, for the sake of, go ahead, do your little, Mr. project, do your little Raspberry Pi project, put an HDMI cord on it, play your games, whatever, fine. But when these consoles are the current consoles, right? And I know I'm talking in circles now, and this is where I'm going to leave my thought. It's hindering the experience for everyone, whether you think it is or not, because if Tears of the Kingdom was emulated over 1 million times, right? That's you could potentially say that for every single game, not just that Nintendo puts out, but these other companies who are putting Switch games out. You could say that. And some of these studios are going to close because people emulated their game and didn't buy the game.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these companies are going to stop supporting consoles that you or platforms that you play on because they didn't make those sales numbers, even though people are playing them. And this was the big complaint with like the used game market too, although less of an extent now because everybody has their digital library. But like there was some stat out there that it was a Quantic Dream game, not Beyond Two Souls, not Detroit. It was might have been Heavy Rain. It might have been Heavy Rain.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Heavy Rain, where something like they saw sales for like 1.2 million copies of the game, but due to trophy data and game updates and whatever, and this doesn't really have a lot to do with emulation. This is more of the used game market, but you can almost apply the same logic here in terms of sales numbers. Something like 3.5 million people played the game, right? And that was always the big complaint in the used game market, is that the companies weren't making any money off of used games. And now, like, even you could apply that to emulation too, where like these companies aren't seeing any money off of these emulated games, and it's hurting the industry, and
Well,
I'm not saying the recent layoffs are because of
this emulation stuff.
emulation, but it doesn't help that that emulation exists, and maybe a couple thousand of the versions of these games were emulated at some
Well,
point.
and the thing about it is that these games would end up getting spoiled for people who have been anticipating it, and so you just throw it. People do not care if they throw anything spoilerific on social media. If
Hmm.
even if the game is not out yet, that happened with um uh it happened with Zelda, it happened with The Last of Us Part 2, that
It
people
happened
just
with I know for a fact it happened with Mario Wonder, because I know somebody who was playing it a week or two before it even came out.
right, and it's just
We
like,
both know someone that did that. I'm not going to say who, but I know that person doesn't listen to this podcast, but it'll get back to this person. But Mario RPG, same thing. Metroid Dread, same thing. I mean, it really it's really annoying, and just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. I think you should support the games and
right.
play it on the platform it was meant to play on. I don't care if you want to play it with 60 frames a second, flawless, whatever. Okay, I don't care that you want to do that. That is not the platform it was made for. Um, and this is coming from somebody who owns platforms that I can play a lot of these games. The Witcher is one, right? I could totally play it on my Xbox Series X or on PC or on PlayStation, right? With the
Right.
free upgrades to the Series X and PlayStation 5 versions. Totally play it there. I play it on the Switch. You know why? Because first of all, I want to see more games like that come to Nintendo platforms.
Mm-hmm.
Second of all, the way my life works, handheld gaming is incredibly more accessible to me than TV gaming, console
Yep.
gaming, in terms of time spent playing games. So, yeah, I spent a lot of time with The Witcher in handheld mode. And guess what? It was great on the Switch.
Most
TV,
people beat The Witcher 3 on Switch.
I mean, I think people who dabbled in The Witcher on console and then bought it for Switch did play a lot more on Switch. I would say the majority of the game was beaten on PC, but that's a different conversation again. But I mean, that's something I wanted to say, is like it really, this conversation, I've become more angry as we've talked about it, and it's not going to get any better if we keep going. So uh I
I
hope I
just
hope I hope Nintendo wins this case. If this
Mhm.
emulator was for like N64 or GameCube or something like that, whatever. I don't really care, right? Those games are off the market.
it,
Nintendo's clearly remastering them and putting them on their subscription service, but at the end of the day, like,
it for me, it's the response, the negative response towards Nintendo that they're doing this, and
yeah,
that goes for like anything. If it's Nintendo's IP, they have the right to decide what they do with their IP and the franchises and their merchandise or whatever. They have that right. We as players don't. We can't modify it. We can't do special tournaments. We can't do this and that. If Nintendo says, no, you're not supposed to do that. Now, yes, they could put a tournament mode and people could go online and have fun, but you're not supposed to monetize it. Nintendo says so. And if they say so, be an adult or be a respectable person and just follow the rules.
yeah,
You're not supposed to. I mean, yeah, you can make money off. There's ways to make money, I should say, but you should not be trying to illegally make money off of something that you did not work or create.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I just, yeah,
So
I agree. I think,
I'm gonna leave it at there.
yeah,
Stop it with the nonsense.
yeah. Look, pay for the game. Just pay for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Play it on the Switch. If you don't want to play it, if you don't want to pay for it, then you don't play it. That's
Yes.
at the end of the day, it's Occam's razor is the simplest explanation, right? The simplest explanation is usually the right one. If you can't afford it, you can't play it,
Right.
right? If you don't want to pay for it, you don't play it. It's that simple. All right, we're gonna move on now. We have a couple other things to get to, and we have a lot of listener questions. Also, I would like to get to.
Yes.
So we're skipping Switch 2 rumor time this week, but we have a the other side. I do want to hit on very quickly, Ed. I don't want to spend too much time on it because I feel like we talk about this subject every other week, and it's really disheartening and sad and sad. Um, so there has been a series of layoffs since we recorded last, Ed. Quite a few, actually. Sony laid off 900 employees worldwide, including closing the London studio. They also laid off the entire game as a service team at Naughty Dog. They laid off quite a few people from across their range of studios. And even at Insomniac, which is the studio that you would arguably not lay anybody off because they've
Right.
been carrying the PlayStation on their back this entire generation.
Yep.
Um, but the one studio that wasn't hit, ironically, which is the studio that hasn't contributed anything, anything important, I would say, since Little Big Planet 2, and that's Media Molecule, right? And that's the only reason why they didn't touch that studio is because half the studio already left, and the other, their studio head is a BAFTA winner, and it would just be a really bad look for them at this point.
Yep.
But EA lays off 670 employees, cancels projects, and shifts their company direction. And that was their explanation, including a first-person Star Wars game, which from Respawn, which makes the most sense to keep. But we'll get to that in a minute. Deck 9 laid off 30 employees. They do a lot of Life is Strange. They're involved in Life is Strange. I think they did True Colors and Before the Storm were the two that they made. Supermassive laid off around 90 people. They do the horror anthology for Bandai Namco right now, and they also did
The Quarry.
Until Dawn and the Quarry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so far we are about 63-ish days into the new year, I think, by my math. And there have been 8,100 reported layoffs this year already in the games industry.
And I wouldn't be surprised if this week, even when this episode goes live and you guys see it, you already hear news that there are going to be more layoffs.
And so it's a tough time for the games industry. And this is something we can talk about on an expansion pass, Ed. I would write this down. What is going to happen with the games industry moving forward to remedy this situation? And actually, we had a question in the Discord from our buddy Geek Bro 27.
I miss him.
I know. Via Discord, he asked, do you feel we are heading into a gaming recession due to all the layoffs in the industry? And I kind of want to position the other side through this question.
So no, we're not hitting a recession because the thing about it is that a lot of these layoffs are hitting the Western markets. They're not hitting the Eastern markets. Like I haven't heard Square Enix laying off folks. I mean,
Mm.
they have closed some of the studios and moved people to different places, but there haven't been a mass layoff. Um,
Uh, Japanese work culture, though, is also much different from
much
the
different.
American work culture,
And,
right?
and the thing about it is that Sony pretty much don't really have a Japanese side studios for PlayStation because they rely their business on Naughty Dog and Insomniac and surprisingly sometimes Sucker Punch when the game comes out. Anything else outside of that, Sony don't care.
Mhm.
Sony does not care and everything. Microsoft is one of the biggest companies out there that got tons of people. They laid off people even though they made record profits and stuff. So it's mostly just places here in the West. There's not so much as a recession. What's probably end up going to happen is that you're going to start seeing smaller studios uh and more independent games pop up and stuff, and what's going to end up happening is that if those games end up once again, because this has happened during the Switch lifespan, probably a couple years ago, when Andy was running stuff and making a lot of companies money, third party was in trouble because nobody was focused on third party or talking about them or
Mhm.
anything. And if it was talking about something, it was a already existing IP. Call of Duty could sell whatever it sells every year. No one is talking about it, but Hades. Oh, there's conversation about Hades. Untitled Goose Game. Oh, there's talk about Untitled Goose Games. There's memes. There's
Well, we
stuff.
we brought it up earlier in the episode where the two biggest games are a $30 and $40 experience and not a $70 experience that you poured, three or $400 million into. That's
Mhm.
based on a license that you not even if you made your money back, you have to pay the licensing fee and the percentage that the license holders require. And I mean, the big one right now that I'm kind of circling, well, two actually, and one of them was successful is Spider-Man 2 and Suicide Squad, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anybody looked at the numbers for when that big Insomniac leak happened. Um I really kind of actively avoided the projects that they're working on because I think that's disrespectful to them, but I think there was a lot of Sony financial things in there that were really interesting. And it's really sad that Insomniac is kind of locked into like they're like a Marvel machine for the next decade and a half. But
Hmm.
um, you look at something like Spider-Man 2 that is incredibly successful and will continue to be successful. And what was it? The profit margin on that game in terms of units sold was something like it was a little under $300 million, which is okay, right? I mean, that game cost $312 million to make. The marketing on that game was probably $100 million or more.
Hmm.
So that's what that was, right? But then like the licensing fee they had to pay to Marvel was like $100 million. And then Marvel also gets a rip off of every game that was sold, right?
Right.
And so, when we're looking at the EA thing, not that EA is like the end all be all, or it's the concept of what they're saying more than EA is actually saying it, right? Like EA is shifting their company direction away from licensed IP and focusing on their own IP. And they canceled a, a hefty amount of projects, a couple that we knew about, a couple that were rumored, and then a couple that weren't even announced, which affected these 670 people. And I'm not 100% sure what IP people care about from EA aside from like sports stuff, but like,
I mean, they didn't have a Battlefield, and Battlefield's been quiet for the last
yeah, but
3.5 years.
Battlefield. When was the last time anybody thought Battlefield was good at a launch? Right? I mean,
It was,
Battlefield 4 was a disaster. Battlefield 1, I think, was the last one that people kind of cared about.
and
And
then
they
that,
tried Battlefield 5, which people were like, "Oh, well, you did the World War One the last time, and World War II is kind of the same thing."
and then that last Battlefield with the weather and all of that,
Oh,
2042.
2043, 2, whatever.
To I
Yeah.
think that like literally bombed where they stopped making it. And don't forget, they did Medal of Honor. I like the first Medal of Honor remake, but like there's the second game bomb, and so
Warfighter.
that game was
What a title, man.
that game was terrible all the way around. But anywho, it's EA focused more on their sports, and you know, right now EA is looking at BioWare to be like putting more pressure on BioWare that Dragon Age has to be a hit. Mass Effect, if EA still believes in them, and there's a new Mass Effect that drops out before EA closes them and we shrink their sizes, it's a possibility that Mass Effect game could be a hit. You know,
Mhm.
EA was so focused on everybody else and not Respawn until after Titanfall 2,
Mhm.
Apex Legends came out. That's when they started putting their focus on Respawn. And
Mhm.
then when Respawn did their Star Wars games and it was getting better reception than Battlefront 2,
Mhm.
that literally just said, okay, now Respawn, you are our money bags.
Mhm.
And everybody else is just there.
Yeah. Um, I don't know. To say that we're in a gaming recession, I don't know. I don't know if we're in a recession because in terms of being, the consumer, because there are still a lot of great games coming out. It's the thing is that there are too many games to play, first of all, and these games have massive budgets that are uncontrollably large, and everybody's trying to make these ultra highly realistic or huge graphical, like a lot of, what am I trying to say? It's after midnight now.
They're
I'm
trying
I'm tired. It's the graphical fidelity needs to be the highest possible thing, and they're very cinematic. So you have motion capture and voice acting, and specific types of camera angles, and whatever engine you're using is, if you are using a proprietary engine, your production is likely to be delayed quite a bit with bugs and everything. If you're using a licensed engine, you are going to be paying a license for that on top of the license of something like Spider-Man or Justice League.
mm,
Uh, although Warner Brothers owns DC, so maybe they don't pay the license for that. But
they don't.
um, it's just this thing of games cost too much to make, and these companies expect these massive returns, and they're not going to get them, right? They want the billion-dollar game, and they want they're chasing the trends, and they want these massive games to be um billion-dollar games, and like their movies, and they're not going to be.
And the worst part of all of this is that even if you have a big and gorgeous looking game, if it's not memorable at any time, or even if you finish the game and none of it is memorable or anything, and you just put it away or uninstall it, all that money, time, and effort that went into the game to become a forgettable game is is just not heartbreaking, but it is very odd for
Hmm.
that to happen. That you spend all this money on a triple A game only for it to be forgotten.
Hmm.
Oh, but here go Fire Emblem Three Houses that someone playing for the fifth time. Oh, now a whole community is talking.
Yeah, and again, I'm not saying that Nintendo doesn't have huge budgets for games. Zelda was probably very expensive to make. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not trying to take anything away from Nintendo, right? But we kind of talked about this on an expansion pass that is coming up, I believe, for everybody at some point. That Nintendo, we talked about when Iwata took his pay cut to kind of obviously keep his employees, not to worry about losing their jobs or changing jobs or being shifted or whatever, right? He started that foundation that Nintendo uh gameplay is key. Nintendo built a foundation on creativity and trust, and you know, if you're not, again, with all these layoffs and stuff, I feel like we're going to get a lot of mediocre games, not because these people aren't talented, because they are extremely talented, but because when your headspace is I'm working to not lose my job instead of I'm working to be creative and fulfill a passion,
Mm-hmm.
that energy changes and your output changes and the product will change ultimately because of that. And
Look.
um in that sense, we may see some sort of gaming recession, but going back to the Nintendo thing, and then you can go, Ed, like, since that foundation was made 8, 9, 10 years ago, right? Like, Nintendo doesn't have that problem. They've since learned how to kind of keep their budgets down, right? They make money off of every console they sell instead of losing money and supplement it by the software. Their budgets aren't bloated, right? I mean, something for like Zelda, and I bet something like Xenoblade may have been higher than an average Nintendo game, right? But like often their budgets aren't bloated. They know how to manage projects where, okay, if this game's getting delayed, we can put out, this remaster or this remake that we've been working on and holding on to. Um, and they know how to manage it, and that's why Nintendo, and we have a question about this later for question block, but that's why Nintendo is essentially winning everything right now, not just a quote unquote console war or fanboy war, but like they're winning because, not also like they're not borrowing money because they have all that cash on hand. So they
Mm-hmm.
also aren't worrying as a company paying back loans and paying that interest. So they're not doing that, right? Their budgets aren't bloated. Their games are coming out and selling like tens of millions of copies. So they're making all that money back and then some. These games market themselves essentially. Like, I mean, there's still commercials for Splatoon and Animal Crossing and Mario Kart
Yeah.
all over the place. But essentially, they're marketing themselves at this point. So their marketing costs are probably lower than something like WB promoting Suicide Squad or Sony promoting Spider Man, right? Um, and so they're just making all these smarter decisions and not owing anybody money and not paying licensing fees. And at that, they've just made smarter decisions, and that's why they're successful, right? And you can say what you want about Nintendo all you want. If you are listening to this show and you don't like Nintendo, I don't know why you're listening, first of all. But
Hey, it's a
like,
podcast. They may enjoy it.
sure. Um, but at the end of the day, I think a lot of companies are going to look at what Nintendo does. And I think in the next, not, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but I think within the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see a shift away from these triple A, quadruple A experiences. Maybe not from the platform holders. Maybe, I mean, Microsoft can obviously eat a budget. It's Microsoft. They're $1 trillion company. They can eat money to produce great games. Hopefully, maybe. Sony wants that, prestige experience, right? So they're not going to cut their budgets on certain things. And I think there's enough PlayStations out there to where obviously Sony's making a 30% rip off of every game. Uh, but I think you're going to see these third parties kind of look at Nintendo and maybe study them with rare exception. They should be looking at Nintendo and being like, how do we fix this to be more like this. And I'm not saying the next Grand Theft Auto has to be cell shaded, canned animations, no voice acting, whatever, right, from Take-Two. But I am saying that you're going to maybe see the next Marvel game that comes out from someone is a smaller experience with, a limited kind of interactions with characters, and maybe it's not choice driven, maybe it's a 7 to 8 hour experience instead of a 20 to 25 hour experience, and maybe they'll and this is my last thought, and I think you're going to see more of a Miles Morales to Spider-Man experience where these assets are already made. How do we create an experience with what we've already built here to get a new experience out faster instead of every 5 to 7 years, or a Lost Legacy to Uncharted 4 experience, that type of thing, which I'm shocked nobody, like Sony, hasn't continued that trend, but that's a different conversation again. But
and my final thing is, if you want the best idea of what gaming could look like or should look like, Hi-Fi Rush and Starfield. The way that people reacted to Hi-Fi Rush and the love that it got, and it's coming to PlayStation, and people will be able to see that. It's not a high price budget game, but the animation looks good. It's got great writing. It got a lot of elements that make this thing a video game.
Yeah, it's creative, it's fun, right? The combat's great, the controls are great, the art style's great, the writing is great. It's a short experience. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's for all intents and purposes, it's a cheaper experience from a consumer standpoint, right? It was what, $30 or $40?
40.
So
excuse me.
I think I would rather have a bunch of those types of experiences instead of like a mediocre. Again, I hate to pick on Avengers and Suicide Squad, but I would, instead of a $70 to $100 premium experience of those types of games.
And I bring up Starfield because, yes, even though some people did like it and the game was hyped up, once again, it's something from Bethesda. It's something from ZeniMax. Both games are from ZeniMax. It's something from ZeniMax, and it relied on a name because of the people who made it. And everything, and look how it turned out to be. It didn't feel creative. It not, and I'm not even talking about Jake or anything, but it didn't have anything that inspired it that made people feel like this could stand out this could stand out on its own, and it's an enjoyable game. And that's what the gaming industry is looking. They need to remember that, yes, you can have these big AAA games when we need to have them, but we need to remember that we want to play video games. And sometimes these companies need to make video games. I don't care for our cutscenes unless they're like Xenoblade, and those cutscenes are very, very good. But I want to play a video game. That's what I was raised up on. That's what I'm gonna leave this world knowing, that I played video games.
Yeah. Yep. There's that saying, gameplay is king, and doesn't matter how pretty your game is, or what license is attached, or what, if it runs at 240 frames a second, if your game isn't fun, then what did you spend $300 million in 8 years making? So all right, Ed, let's get into Pack Watch. 2 games coming out this week. One on March 5th, Snufkin, Melody of Moomin Valley. Join Snufkin in this musical adventure about restoring harmony and balance to Moomin Valley, protecting it from the industrious park keeper. And then on March 8th, we have Unicorn Overlord. Unicorn Overlord is a tactical role playing game in which players take on the role of exiled Prince Alain, and as he leads the libertarian army in a campaign across the fantasy realm of Fevrith. So I know a lot of people are looking forward to Unicorn Overlord. Although I don't know if you saw the controversy around this game, Edward.
No, I did not.
I am not going to go into it in depth here, but there is a lot of translation purists out there who are very upset about this game.
This nonsense.
So
I read the tweets and heard about it. Yeah.
So that's where we're at there. But that's all I got there. We do have a lot of questions tonight, Ed. And I know we're at 3 hours and 15 minutes, but I don't care. This is the type of show I want the show to be, right? It can be an hour if we need it to be. It can be 4.5 hours if we need it to be. So, anyways, give me an intro, Ed.
Everybody, it's time for Question Block.
Yeah, it is. Our first question comes from, or I guess this would be our second question since we answered Jack's question earlier. The One True James via Discord writes in, if you want to, by the way, if you want a question read, look for our Twitter thread asking for questions, or join the Boss Rush Network Discord and go to the podcast question channel, and you can leave your questions in there. It is for all of our podcasts, so make sure you do. If you leave a question in there without us asking for them first, mark which show you would like it to be for, but you can do that, and we will answer your question. So Twitter or Discord is the easiest way to get your question read on this here podcast. The One True James via Discord writes in, what genre of game do you wish came to the Switch more often? That's a tough one because there's a lot of JRPGs. There's a lot of platformers. There's a lot of third-person action games, or action-adventure games, I would say.
I'm actually going to say third-person platformers. I don't think we have a lot of third-person platformers on Switch. I think a lot of the games that we have for platformers are indie 2D games. Now, I know we got Big Pennies, Breakaway, but I think we need more games like that. Even though, and you know, there are some games from indie developers that came out that has come out. I would like to see more, and I would like to see people's take on different eras of 3D platformers. You know, of course, we had N64, we have PlayStation 1 and Xbox and stuff. Like, I would like to see, like, Jumping Flash on PS1. I would love to see that come to Switch, or a game in that style come to Switch, and everything. Like, I think for me would be third person, or 3D platforms. I should say not third person, but 3D platforms.
I would say, I mean, you say that, but also nobody wants to compete with Mario, right? Mario Odyssey is like top
It's
tier.
not.
I think people are just in that genre. I think a lot of people are kind of not scared, but they're skeptical because of Mario being so popular on the platform in either 2D or 3D.
And that's why different 3D platformers from different genres offer something that Mario does not give. Yeah, you might be competing with Mario, but that's one game per system. There's not a consistency of Mario third person platformers on a Nintendo console. You'll be happy to get at least another game or even 3. So you have time to put out your game and get noticed. Like we said earlier, if we want to play video games, we want to play video games. Make that creation your own. And own it. Just make sure that the quality is good and that people will end up loving it. Because that's what's missing from Switch if we're talking about bringing a genre. It's just like that game should feel like your own and not like something else.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not competing with Mario, because I'm like, who's competing with Mario with the game that's been out since the system that's been out since 7 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
No one's trying to do that.
Yeah.
You got one Mario 3D platformer and another one from a port.
Yeah.
You have time to make your own original third person platformer come to the Switch or Nintendo platform. I mean Nintendo platform.
For me, I don't. There's 2 genres that come to mind. I don't think we have enough fighting games on the Switch. Like when we do have like obviously like the Street Fighter collection, and we have that version of Street Fighter 2 that launched with the Switch, and there's 2 Mortal Kombats on the Switch, which are at varying degrees of quality. But there aren't a lot of like true fighting games on the Switch. I think there are some Arc System Works games like Dragon Ball Fighters,
SNK,
and SNK stuff. But I would like to see like a new true fighter, maybe developed with the Switch in mind, even if it's not exclusive. Like the first game that for some reason that came to my mind would be like, it would be really cool if Capcom made a Darkstalkers for Switch or something like that.
Yeah.
So I know Skullgirls is another one that people kind of like, that was popular on Vita but not necessarily on the Switch.
Masasunoku versus Capcom.
Yeah. So that's a genre that I think of not being enough of on the Switch, even though I'm not a huge fighting game person, especially with the popularity of the rise of Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 6 being really popular, and Tekken, people really loving Tekken, right? Like Switch is missing out on some fighting games. So the other genre that comes to mind is shooter, but I don't need another first person shooter like Call of Duty or Borderlands or something. Like I would like something, and as dumb as this sounds, like I would like something like Foam Stars. I think limiting that to PlayStation only has done that game a disservice. I think that game would have blown up on Switch due to the popularity of Splatoon, specifically. And I'm not saying I want every game to be like Splatoon or Foam Stars, and I'm not necessarily even interested in Foam Stars either, but like new creative shooters that aren't necessarily about killing people, but having different cool objectives, and shooting is just part of the fun, and not necessarily bullets, but obviously ink and foam are definitely not those things. Or and even if you go the other direction, something like Helldivers, and obviously that's a Sony published game, so that's not going anywhere other than PC and PlayStation, unless Sony changes their mind at some point. But something competitive, or a PVE type squad based shooter that you can play with your friends, that's fun and dumb, and I think you could totally do that on the Switch. Maybe not this current Switch, maybe the next one hopefully has better online connectivity and things like that. But having like this global objective style online squad based shooter would be really interesting to see on a Nintendo handheld. So all right, Ed. Our next couple questions are from David Lasby. I've heard of that guy. Via Discord, he asks, if Switch 2 doesn't come out until 2025, will people feel disappointed?
Nope.
I think people will say they're disappointed, but I think as long as the software and these new experiences, like Nintendo said in the first story we read, as long as these experiences keep coming and they're fun and interesting and they run well on the Switch, I don't think anybody has anything to be disappointed about.
There's too many games to play everywhere on PC, Steam Deck, ROG Ally, TurboGrafx 16, Sega Genesis, whatever. There's a lot of stuff to play games at, so no one's going to be disappointed if it doesn't come out until 2025. It's always it's going to be about the games, and like we said earlier, or not earlier, but we have said on previous Power Blocks, Microsoft need wins this year, 2025. Nintendo could sit back and just chill and put out whatever they want, and if it does good, it does good and stuff. Nintendo shouldn't be worried. Gamers should not be worried for this year for Nintendo. Xbox needs this year to shine.
I think to guarantee people will not be disappointed, Ed, they need to re-release Twilight Princess and Wind Waker HD. They need to release Metroid Prime 2 and 3 remastered. And they need to release Xenoblade Chronicles X. There's your 5 answers. No, but in all seriousness, like I think Nintendo has a lineup for this summer and beyond that we couldn't even really begin to guess what those games are. I mean, I have said that 2024 is going to be the year of remasters and remakes for Switch. But I think they're going to drop 1 or 2 new surprises in there that people are going to be excited for.
Yes.
I partially anticipate a re-reveal of Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, it's time for us to get it, but I probably won't happen this summer. Hopefully, it does.
We'll see, but yeah, give me those Zelda games. give us the rest of the Metro. If you're gonna tease Metroid Prime 4, you better give the 2 and 3 to people so they're caught up on the story. That's all I'm saying, right? I mean, I think that could be like you're announcing maybe Metroid Prime 2 and 3 or something that you're announcing, and then like that's your lead into a Metroid Prime 4 tease or something. But I'm getting ahead of myself. His next question is, what game will make the best launch title?
Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, and Mario Kart 9 is the no-brainer. Also a 3D Mario game probably makes the most sense too.
Yeah.
I mean, if you launch those two side by side, you're going to sell out. Even if you put out 10 to 15 million units in the first year, you're going to sell out every time you ship something. Yeah. And his third and final question: did Nintendo actually win the console war, giving their sales numbers, particularly in Japan, the home of PlayStation and Nintendo?
Of course. Like
yeah,
there's like the Famitsu numbers every week. Nintendo has been on number 1, and heck, the 2DS is the 2DS is still selling, doing numbers.
I think the 3DS outsold the Xbox at some point in the last like 6 months.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. I mean, it sucks for Xbox because I know they've been really pushing the Xbox over there. But they've never had a foothold over there. I don't even know why they're still trying. You should be focusing on your home turf, but that's another different conversation we could have on a different day. But sorry, Ed, finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No, that was it.
Oh, I would say yes. I would say that though I take these numbers into consideration and what you're asking, David, my thing is Nintendo won by being everybody's second console. You either buy a PlayStation and a Switch, or an Xbox and a Switch, or a PC and a Switch. Those are what you're buying, right? And by being everybody's second console, they sell more units. And even if the Switch is your primary console or your only console, right? That increases that number again. So I think the Switch did something unique, but not out of the realm of normal, right? The hybrid console.
Mm-hmm.
They have one console instead of three that we've talked about before, right? Mobile, 3DS, and Wii U. They have an incredible amount of software for the console, and it's relatively affordable, right? The Switch Lite is $200. I think you can get the base Switch for around 270 to 250 to 270 if you're looking
Mm-hmm.
in the right places. And if you want the premium experience, you get the
OLED.
OLED for 350, which is still, you know, around the price of an Xbox Series S console with games. So, um, and arguably has better games than Xbox at this point, in terms of first party, because Xbox really doesn't have any killer apps. I would say they have games. I don't want to say Xbox has no games. They are lacking killer apps. That old term. So, but yes, Nintendo has definitively won the generation. And our last question, Mr. Mask Salesman via Discord writes in: are there any games that you want to see ported to the Switch, or that you think would work ported off of it onto other consoles or PC? Oh,
Titanfall 2.
man.
That literally is my only one. Titanfall 2, Takenosu versus Capcom, Marvel versus Capcom 2, Power Stones 1 and 2. Um what other Jet Set Radio from Dreamcast. There was a lot of Dreamcast ones. Elemental Gimmick Gear. That was on Dreamcast. Uh Retro Fighter, I would love to see on Switch.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah. I'm I'm in the camp of, if you can afford it, or if you design it this way.
mhm.
I'm still of the pets committee of port everything to Switch, even if it doesn't work. Uh, but in all seriousness, there would be a lot of games I would love to see on the platform that are on other platforms. I think, man, what are some that are? I think Psychonauts and Psychonauts 2 should definitely be on the Switch. I think that's a game that we've talked about earlier this episode. I
Mhm.
think actually, Hi-Fi Rush. I'm actually shocked they didn't announce that. Um, I think. Uh, I actually think I would have said Red Dead Redemption. I actually think that first game coming to Switch was a smart decision. Um, I know Rockstar Games, at least between us, Ed, are kind of, we don't really care for Grand Theft Auto or Red Dead
Mhm.
in some cases. I like Red Dead 1 more than I like Grand Theft Auto, but it's still, like, to me, wasn't an amazing game.
I
I
would
know
say Little Big Planet or Dreams.
oh,
Or Concrete Genie coming to Switch.
Concrete Genie, man. That would be a perfect Switch game. Um, let's see. What I would like to see the rest of the Wii U uh library come over, honestly.
Yeah,
Um,
if anything that I would have Nintendo do a game support to PC would probably be Fire Emblem Three Houses and Engage. Like, I think that would definitely be the only one. I know some people would love Splatoon, but I'm like, if we're thinking about games that are big, like strategy games that are big on PC, those two would be two of the biggest ones on there. And I think that will just triple the numbers of sales for that game already.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just look at what Fire Emblem Heroes did on mobile for DNA. Like, that thing was making them money for years. So you don't think people would not pick up Fire Emblem Three Houses on on PC? Shoot,
Yeah.
you'll be crazy.
Yeah. I mean, my thought would be a lot of Sega stuff that hasn't made it over. Like I think Yakuza, for it, even if it's not this console, the next one.
Hmm.
Oh my gosh, that scared me. Oh my gosh. My the kids' toy room is on the other side of this room I'm in,
Uh,
and my daughter hung up a bunch of her artwork, and part of it just fell, and it's really quiet down here.
oh
So I
wow,
hear anything that like rustles or moves or anything, which isn't really anything. But man, I heard that. I jumped out of my skin just now. I wonder if there's a reaction on video. Um anyway, yeah, like Yakuza, I think I would love to see. I know whatever. I still think that series ends up making it to the next console. Um I know what they said, but I think they're missing out on a whole platform.
yeah,
Um, I'm shocked that a lot of those Dreamcast games that are on Xbox at least Xbox Live or other, are not on Switch, like Sonic Adventure. I'm shocked there's not a Dreamcast. Um,
collection.
yeah, yeah. Where is that? You know, like I cannot believe there's not a Dreamcast collection somewhere aside from like that weird 360 compilation of 3 games, right? I think it's like
Right.
Space Channel 5 and Sonic Adventure and Crazy Taxi, maybe. I don't know. Um, we've been getting a lot of the Atlas stuff, right? I mean, I think we're missing stuff like Soul Hackers and uh,
Yeah.
whatever, but yeah, speaking of Atlas, I think the one game that I think should be played by more people is Tokyo Mirage Sessions. I think if that game was, I think if that game came out now, right, and not a port that we got a couple years ago, but with the height and Persona is at an all time high, Shin Megami Tensei is at an all time high in popularity. I think if that game came out now, people would be throwing themselves at it, because it's essentially Nintendo's Persona game, right? I mean, it's for people that don't know and who haven't heard Ed and I talk about this game obsessively over the last couple of years. Um, it's a Shin Megami Tensei like game that's a crossover with Fire Emblem. So
Yeah.
all of your personas are Fire Emblem characters, from I think Fates and before, I would say. So yeah, that would be my pick for other people to play on other platforms,
Yeah.
because I think it's just enough Nintendo adjacent that they could get away with it without hurting the platform or the brand of Fire Emblem, because it doesn't say Fire Emblem, it says Sharp FE. Or I know people online have been saying hashtag FE. It's Sharp FE. Everybody, come on. I know you youngsters out there don't know what you know
Sharp is.
Sharp is, but it angers me when people say hashtag FE. I I get it, but also, hmm,
Learn your
anyway,
music skills, everybody.
yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that maybe uh could be ported. I don't know. I mean, my favorite Batman game, Arkham Origins, is not ported anywhere.
So now that's the complete edition that system would need.
I'm just saying, Arkham Origins gets a lot of hate, and I don't understand why.
Because the Wii U version didn't get the full game.
I mean, people don't like it on Xbox or PlayStation either, though. It's not just a Wii U problem. I know the Wii U didn't get the DLC, but I played it and completed it on Wii U. Wanted that noted, everybody. I also played Watch Dogs on Wii U, so whatever. I'm a loser, I guess. But speaking of losing, that's all the questions we have, Ed.
All right. But I think we're going to definitely wrap it up here because we're close to getting to 4 hours.
Let's go for another hour and 21 minutes, and we can hit that 5-hour mark.
No, people will cut the podcast off and say never do that again.
Whatever. They're going to get they're going to get longer podcasts now from time to time, I hope. So
that is true. Well, with that, everybody, have a great week. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next time on Nintendo Pow Block. Bye, everybody. Woo-hoo.
Bye. If you want to see how you can become a Patreon producer, head on over to patreon.com/BossRushNetwork. The Patreon producers for this month are Adriel Munger, Austin Campbell, Celeste Roberts, Christian S., Sana Dirrig, Francisco Santillan, Matthew Keel, and Todd Oxtra. Thanks for your continued support of the Boss Rush Network.